Chapter 1473. Su Qingyao's beautiful eyes flashed as she stared at Qin Wentian with a strange expression. She naturally knew of her charm and very few men would be able to resist it. However, for those who knew of her identity, even if they admired her in their hearts, they would all stay far away from her, not daring to be disrespectful to her. However, this saber-sword immortal king actually wanted to talk about romance with her. Her beautiful eyes flashed with a smile. Su Qingyao stared at Qin Wentian. Sure, let's spar. If you can defeat me, we can talk about romance again. As a peak stage mid-stage immortal king, Su Qingyao felt some curiosity towards the saber-sword immortal king. She wanted to see his strength and sparring would undoubtedly be the most direct method. Fairy, don't lie to me. If I win against Fairy after sparring, I want to talk about romance for 7 days and 7 nights with Fairy. Qin Wentian smiled at Su Qingyao. She wanted to see his strength? The price for doing so wasn't small. If not, there would always be people coming to the city of ancient emperors to spar with him. Su Qingyao's eyes flashed with a strange light, but she still smiled. Let's see how strong the saber-sword immortal king is then. Since Fairy wishes to chat with this seat so much, this seat shall accept it. Fairy, please be careful. Runes flashed on Qin Wentian's body as the fluctuations of the Vajra Holy will enveloped him. Su Qingyao's peak stage mid-stage immortal king aura gushed forth as she smiled at Qin Wentian. She stretched out her jade-like hand and pointed a finger at Qin Wentian. In an instant, a sea of flowers appeared, enveloping Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian stood in the midst of the sea of flowers. He stared ahead only to see Su Qingyao floating in the air like a celestial maiden. Her graceful figure danced in the air as she walked towards him, smiling sweetly. Just a smile from her was sufficient to cause the souls of men to be infatuated. Qin Wentian had a smile on his face as he stared at the beautiful scenery before him. At the same time, he stretched out his palm and blasted out a Vajra palm imprint. It was like a gigantic Buddha hand, capable of crushing everything. Pooh! Her slender jade-like finger was plump and fair, indescribably beautiful. When it landed on the Vajra palm imprint, it directly shattered the Vajra palm imprint. The symbols collapsed, the ancient characters shattered, and the palm imprint split apart. Such a beautiful illusory scene, causing one to sink into it. Such a beautiful finger. Yet it was able to unleash such an attack. Very good move. Qin Wentian's eyes turned golden, seeing through all illusions. The sea of flowers vanished. Su Qingyao's figure could no longer be seen. There was only the might of that finger. Tyrannical and tyrannical, exuding boundless might. If it wasn't for him personally experiencing it, it was very hard to imagine that such a finger would be able to unleash such a powerful strike. If it was an ordinary mid-stage immortal king, he would have died with a single finger. So it turned out that the scene earlier was merely an illusion created by Su Qingyao. She was a supreme beauty in the mortal world, and as long as she used herself as the primer, the feeling she gave off would be even more realistic. Her existence, her beauty, was a part of the illusion, causing people to sink into it. You actually possess a Buddhist technique? Su Qingyao's beautiful eyes caused the world to lose its color. The illusion appeared once more, manifesting many images of Su Qingyao. Her 5 fingers shot out in unison, shooting out dazzling beams of law light. Each and every one of her fingers contained a terrifying might within. Su Qingyao's background was extraordinary. Her parents were both immortal emperors and she inherited her mother's abilities in illusions. As for this heaven-shattering finger, it was one of her father's ultimate arts. If one cultivated it to the extreme, a single finger attack would be able to shatter the heavens and earth, containing boundless might. Su Qingyao condensed the might of her finger into a single point, piercing through everything. Qin Wentian had a smile on his face. Su Qingyao was at the same cultivation level as him. How could her illusionary techniques fool his eyes? He continued to sit cross-legged, not moving at all. The runes circulating around him grew even more resplendent. His body was like a grand talisman formation, completely formed by the heavens, radiating boundless Vajra law intent. It was like a Vajra king had manifested, forming an indestructible golden body. Her slender jade-like fingers pierced into Qin Wentian's body as cracking sounds rang out unceasingly. Even his Vajra body was covered in cracks. This Su Qingyao's strength was truly extraordinary. But at the same level, Qin Wentian was confident that she wouldn't be his opponent at all. Su Qingyao's beautiful eyes flashed with a bright light when she saw that her attacks had no way to break through Qin Wentian's defense. This saber-sword immortal king truly lived up to his reputation, since he could kill Zi Daolong. He truly had shocking strength. Just the defensive prowess he displayed was already enough to shock people. The martial Dao is emotionless. How boring it is to talk about it. Qin Wentian laughed. He stretched out his left hand as a pagoda intent radiated forth, suppressing everything. In an instant, Su Qingyao, who wanted to retreat, was suppressed by that supreme suppressive might. Her body trembled, but she had no way to break free. It felt like there was a pagoda piercing through her body. So Fairy, why don't you talk about romance with me? How wonderful is that? Qin Wentian spoke. He stretched out his right hand, manifesting a sky-shocking sword intent. In an instant, Su Qingyao only felt her entire body turning cold. It felt like the god of death was drawing near. Fighting in close combat with the saber-sword immortal king was simply asking for abuse. Could it be that you can bear to destroy a flower? Su Qingyao smiled, mesmerizing everyone. Qin Wentian was so mesmerized that he fell into a daze. Luckily, he had cultivated the force of truth and his will was extremely strong. He wasn't affected by it. He continued smiling. I naturally can't bear to destroy a flower. I only wish to chat with Fairy for 7 days and 7 nights without rest. As he spoke, his fingers stabbed out, entering Su Qingyao's body. A violent energy gushed forth, destroying her energy, causing Su Qingyao to groan in misery. Blood flowed from the corner of her mouth as her countenance turned as pale as paper. Impudent. Numerous immortal kings stepped out. When they saw Su Qingyao, their auras gushed forth. However, they only saw Qin Wentian using his left hand to pull Su Qingyao into his embrace, causing her to lean against him. Her fragrance drifted over. His finger lightly landed on Su Qingyao's face as he smiled. Stand there and don't move. As the sound of his voice faded, those immortal kings who were unleashing their auras all stopped. They were all dumbfounded. After that, their eyes flickered with flames of rage as they stared at Qin Wentian with hatred. This bastard actually dared to insult Fairy Qingyao. Su Qingyao's beauty was incomparably beautiful, and was admired by countless immortal kings. She was like a goddess, but right now, she was actually pulled into the embrace of this bastard. He simply deserves death. Su Qingyao's expression finally changed. Before this, she was smiling when dealing with everything because everything was under her control. However, this saber-sword immortal king was so tyrannical, actually daring to disrespect her. What sort of character was she, Su Qingyao? She had never suffered such treatment before. Su Qingyao tried to struggle free, but Qin Wentian's arms tightened around her. His fingers brushed past Su Qingyao's face, gently caressing her perfect countenance as he smiled. Fairy is as beautiful as a celestial maiden. Being able to converse with Fairy for 7 days and 7 nights is truly a wonderful thing in the world. Saber-sword immortal king, I'm Su Qingyao. She revealed her identity, wanting to make Qin Wentian feel trepidation. Fairy Qingyao, you are beautiful and your name is beautiful as well. However, Qin Wentian acted as though he had never heard of this. His fingers continued to be dishonest. Su Qingyao radiated coldness as she spoke. Saber-sword immortal king, have you gone mad? How dare you treat me like this? Fairy, what are you saying? Before this, Fairy has already promised me that if I can defeat you in a spar, you will chat with me about romance. Fairy, are you not going to fulfill your promise? Qin Wentian furrowed his brows. His hand slowly slid down Su Qingyao's face, landing on her beautiful neck. In fact, it seemed like his hand was still moving downwards. Su Qingyao's body stiffened. She didn't dare to move at all. Her face was red from anger and humiliation. She, Su Qingyao, was a supreme beauty with extraordinary talent and an illustrious background. Those who pursued her were all extremely talented and exuded boundless magnificence. However, all of them treated her with incomparable respect. But today, there was actually someone who dared to treat her like this. The experts in the surroundings were all dumbfounded when they saw the saber-sword immortal king taking liberties with Su Qingyao. The holy and flawless fairy Qingyao actually fell to the hands of this man. This fellow was truly a madman, daring to kill Zi Daolong and daring to treat fairy Qingyao like this. Fairy still hasn't answered this seat's question. Will you fulfill your promise? Qin Wentian's brows flashed with coldness. His hand continued moving downwards. Su Qingyao's body trembled as her breathing quickened. She spoke in embarrassment and anger. Fine, I will fulfill my promise and accompany you to chat about romance for 7 days and 7 nights. A smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face as he replied, but Fairy seems to be somewhat unwilling. His hands faintly touched the peak of the mountain. Su Qingyao turned pale with fright, but she forced a smile. How can that be? That's right. Qin Wentian laughed. He retracted his roaming palms and hugged Su Qingyao. His silhouette flashed as he soared up into the air. He smiled. Fairy Qingyao and I are prepared to converse for 7 days and 7 nights. Could it be that all of you are intending to spectate? After speaking, Qin Wentian laughed uproariously as he departed. Numerous immortal kings stepped out, chasing after him. Their countenances were as pale as paper, their anger towering up into the sky. This saber-sword immortal king actually dared to defile the goddess in their hearts. This saber-sword immortal king is about to court a calamity. Some of the spectators sighed in admiration. Yeah, this saber-sword immortal king basically doesn't know what sort of character Su Qingyao is. He dares to disrespect Su Qingyao. This is definitely courting trouble for himself. Forget it, hasn't he caused enough trouble? Killing Zi Daolong, slaying a peak-stage immortal king from the Supreme Sword School, killing an immortal king from the Taihua Immortal Dynasty. Which one of these isn't a calamity? Now that Su Qingyao is here, there's basically nothing this saber-sword immortal king doesn't dare to do. If anyone wants to find trouble with him, they have to be prepared to pay the price. That's right, he wants to challenge those existences in the city of ancient emperors. One of Su Qingyao's pursuers should be one of those existences. He would definitely not spare the saber-sword immortal king. Yeah, this saber-sword immortal king's talent is unparalleled. If he breaks through to the peak stage of the immortal emperor realm, he might really be able to contend against those existences. But now his cultivation base is still too low. Even Zi Daolong doesn't have the qualifications. He can't be considered anything in front of those existences. Qin Wentian is still very far away from that. This time around he dares to disrespect Su Qingyao and is truly in the wrong. This calamity is even greater compared to killing Zi Daolong. As this news circulated out, another thunderous rumble rang out in the city of ancient emperors. Before the previous wave subsided, another wave arose. The name of the saber-sword immortal king was known by more and more people. What sort of character was Su Qingyao? Her fame was extremely great. How major of a matter would it be for someone to disrespect her? In an instant, countless geniuses were waiting to watch the show. At this moment, in a certain ancient hall, an immortal king exuding boundless magnificence laughed uproariously. This time around, someone dares to disrespect the woman you are wooing. I want to see where your face will be. Ha ha. Another Empyrean roamed the city of ancient emperors. When he heard people discussing about Su Qingyao, he couldn't help but mumble. This time around, that supreme crown prince character, how would he deal with the saber-sword immortal king? Interesting. Chapter 1474. The saber-sword immortal king brought Su Qingyao away. Given how beautiful Su Qingyao was, there were people who said that she would definitely be killed by the saber-sword immortal king. Such a supreme beauty was about to be sullied by the saber-sword immortal king. Su Qingyao was such a beauty. Since the saber-sword immortal king dared to abduct her, what else wouldn't he dare to do? This was too tragic. However, this saber-sword immortal king was in for it as well. This time around, it was unknown how many people he would offend. Could it be that he wanted to offend all the immortal kings in the city of ancient emperors? Very swiftly, a voice rang out in the city of ancient emperors, telling the saber-sword immortal king to send Fairy Qingyao back safely. If Fairy Qingyao was treated badly, the saber-sword immortal king would be dismembered into 1,000 pieces. If he was willing to repent and admit his mistakes, sending Fairy Qingyao back before kneeling and begging for her forgiveness, he might be spared from death. This was the saber-sword immortal king's final chance. This voice was extremely tyrannical. To someone like the saber-sword immortal king, ordinary voices wouldn't be able to intimidate him. Only the most direct and tyrannical voice might cause him to hesitate. However, at this moment, Qin Wentian brought Su Qingyao to a mountain range in the City of Ancient Emperors. The City of Ancient Emperors was extremely vast, especially in the third level. It was like a world of its own. On a cliff in the mountain range, Su Qingyao stared at Qin Wentian walking towards her as her countenance turned pale. She didn't expect that Qin Wentian would actually abduct her and bring her to such a desolate place. Could it be that he really wanted to do something to her? She simply didn't dare to imagine that such a thing would happen to her. Su Qingyao, if you release me, I can agree to any of your conditions. What do you want in exchange? Su Qingyao stared at Qin Wentian. I only want Fairy Qingyao to accompany me for 7 days and 7 nights of romance. Qin Wentian smiled as he walked towards Su Qingyao. Su Qingyao retreated. If you treat me like this, no matter how vast the world is, there's no place for you to hide. Could it be that you have never heard of my name before? The parents of Su Qingyao, are both immortal emperors. If you dare to do such a thing that would incur the wrath of the heavens, they would definitely use all methods to deal with you. Fairy must be joking. I killed Zi Daolong, and his father, Zidi, is a peak-stage immortal emperor. I don't fear him at all. Why would I care about Fairy Qingyao's parents? Qin Wentian had an ambiguous smile on his face as he continued walking forward. Su Qingyao retreated again and again. After she was captured, Qin Wentian sealed her cultivation base. Sabersword Immortal King, why must you be so greedy for a moment of pleasure? For us cultivators, martial arts is our foundation. Women are nothing but fleeting clouds. Su Qingyao's voice softened as she persuaded. Greedy for a moment of pleasure? Women. Qin Wentian's eyes were deep as he said with a smile. Living in this world, one should live to his heart's content. Martial arts can't be neglected, but enjoyment can't be abandoned. He had already walked to Su Qingyao's side. He stretched out his hand and gently wrapped it around her waist as he smiled. Fairy Qingyao, do you think what this seat said is right? Yes. However, in this city of ancient emperors, I have many pursuers, and there are even supreme characters among them. The Sunluo Immortal Emperor is an unrivaled character. He is currently at his peak and has many descendants. However, he has already established his inheritance and selected a successor from the various princes and princes. That successor is none other than the unparalleled crown prince of the Sunluo Immortal Empire. This person is precisely in the city of ancient emperors and has countless followers. Experts are as common as the clouds, and his cultivation base is at the peak stage of the Immortal King realm. Zi Daolong is like an ant before him, and he has also expressed his interest in pursuing me. Are you threatening me? Qin Wentian pulled Su Qingyao into his embrace. Staring at her beautiful face that was just inches away from him, an evil smile appeared on his face. Release me. Su Qingyao completely lost her composure after being disrespected like this. Her beautiful face turned pale. This saber-sword immortal king's lust was as bold as the heavens. He had no qualms at all. No matter what she said, he wouldn't care. He was simply a madman. If she knew this earlier, she wouldn't have antagonized him. Fairy's beauty is truly pleasing to the eyes. Qin Wentian smiled as he stared at the beauty that was just inches away from him. After speaking, he released Su Qingyao and walked to the edge of the cliff. He sat down cross-legged and smiled. Fairy, why don't you come over and chat with me? Su Qingyao gritted her teeth. She didn't dare to disobey. She was worried that if she angered him, Qin Wentian might do something she wouldn't be able to endure. Hence, she could only walk over to Qin Wentian's side. Fairy, there's no need to be so polite. Please take a seat. Qin Wentian spoke. Su Qingyao coldly glanced at Qin Wentian and sat down beside him. Fairy, have you discovered that even though I'm here, the Emperor's fate behind me is still growing stronger? Qin Wentian asked. Emperor's fate is the fate of the city of ancient emperors. Your name resounds through the city of ancient emperors, and more people know of you. Your fame is growing stronger and stronger, transforming into Emperor's fate. Although you have yet to appear, your fame is still spreading. Su Qingyao replied. So this is the case. What's the use of Emperor's fate then? Qin Wentian smiled. Su Qingyao saw that Qin Wentian no longer continued to tease her. Hence, she was more than happy to answer Qin Wentian. She then continued. There's a rumor that the immortal realms are undergoing a great transformation. The entire era will change, and a brand new era will appear. Immortal kings and emperors will appear, and experts will contend against each other, defeating all the geniuses in the world. Hence, the rules of the city of ancient emperors would naturally change as well. It's rumored that when the emperor's fate reaches a certain level, one would be able to see things that many others can't, coming into contact with the secrets of the city of ancient emperors. Fairy, you said that your parents are both immortal emperors and are extremely famous. I'm sure you know many secrets of the city of ancient emperors. Can you tell me about it? Qin Wentian turned his gaze to Su Qingyao. That smile in his eyes actually caused Su Qingyao to feel a little nervous. She was afraid that this fellow would be attracted by her beauty and would do something uncontrollable. There's a rumor saying that there are Tao elements from other immortal realms in the city of ancient emperors. This matter is extremely important. Hence, immortal kings and emperors would all enter the city of ancient emperors in search of an opportunity to break through. Su Qingyao spoke, her words causing Qin Wentian's eyes to flash. Indeed, this was the same as what the Black Dragon had said. There were actually Tao elements from other immortal realms in the city of ancient emperors. Fairy, do you know that there's a black dragon in the city of ancient emperors who seems to be in control of the laws here? Does he have Tao elements from other immortal realms? Qin Wentian asked. According to the speculations of my parents, the city of ancient emperors is actually a divine weapon, an independent dimension. The rules are set by the controller, and the black dragon might be the controller of the rules. But in this independent dimension, there are other Tao elements that exist as well. Qin Wentian mused. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. How many secrets were there in the city of ancient emperors exactly? He closed his eyes and continued to quietly cultivate. Su Qingyao's eyes flashed as she silently retreated. Only when she saw that Qin Wentian didn't obstruct her did she set her heart at ease. 7 days later, Su Qingyao soared into the air and stared at the city before her. Her eyes were filled with a sense of surrealism. She didn't expect that the saber-sword immortal king would let her go so easily, only keeping her for 7 days and nights. During these 7 days, the saber-sword immortal king didn't do anything to her at all. In fact, he didn't even touch her or glance at her. It was like her fairy-like beauty was nothing in his eyes. From the looks of it, everything the saber-sword immortal king did earlier seemed to be a prank, as though he was purposely teasing her or punishing her for her provocation. This fellow, what sort of person is he exactly? Su Qingyao grew even more curious about Qin Wentian. She was extremely confident in her looks, and was indeed as beautiful as a celestial maiden. Her beauty was incomparable, and there was no one who didn't praise her, who didn't want to obtain her. But that saber-sword immortal king clearly wasn't afraid of her, and didn't mind offending her. If not, he wouldn't have taken advantage of her. But when she thought that she was about to suffer the most terrifying humiliation, that fellow actually didn't touch her at all. This caused Su Qingyao to feel very strange. At the same time, she also started to doubt her own charm. It's Fairy Qingyao. Someone saw Su Qingyao who just appeared. Fairy Qingyao has returned. She has been trapped for 7 days and seems to be more haggard than before. The saber-sword immortal king released her. Numerous gazes landed on Su Qingyao. All of them had a strange look in their eyes when they stared at her. 7 days and 7 nights, talking about romance. The saber-sword immortal king abducted such a supreme beauty. Was it really just for a chat? When Su Qingyao saw the strange look in the eyes of the crowd, coldness flashed in her eyes. She could faintly guess what everyone was thinking as her countenance grew extremely unsightly. She continued forward, encountering more and more people. Although there was still admiration in their eyes, other than that, there was also a hint of lust. In the past, none of them dared to have such a look. This indicated that they all felt that the saber-sword immortal king had done something to her. Fairy Qingyao, are you all right? At this moment, a magnificent character walked over. staring at Su Qingyao as he asked. This was the son of an immortal emperor, his status was extraordinary and his cultivation base was extremely high. I'm fine, the saber-sword immortal king didn't make things difficult for me. Su Qingyao replied. The eyes of the young man flickered, but it didn't escape from Su Qingyao's eyes. You don't believe me? No. The young man shook his head. You are clearly doubting me. Su Qingyao's voice was cold. Fairy Qingyao, why are you so agitated? The suspicion in the heart of the young man grew. He stared at Su Qingyao. At this moment, Su Qingyao's expression grew even more unsightly to behold. Scram, there's no need for me to explain anything to you. After speaking, she directly departed. That young man stood at his original location. His hands were clenched tightly as his countenance turned ashen. Saber-sword immortal king, I will kill you for sure. His eyes flashed with a terrifying killing intent, further confirming his suspicions. Su Qingyao's reappearance caused all sorts of rumors to spread. Even the crown prince was filled with suspicion. He was infuriated and roared, telling the saber-sword immortal king to scram before him, kneeling and kowtowing, crippling his cultivation base. Only by doing so would he spare the saber-sword immortal king's lowly life. Other than this, many peak-stage immortal kings also said that they wanted the saber-sword immortal king to die. For a period of time, the saber-sword immortal king's fame rose even higher. Hence, Qin Wentian discovered a strange phenomenon. Although he was hated by so many people, the emperor's fate behind him was still growing stronger. As for Su Qingyao, she was cursing Qin Wentian in her heart. This damnable bastard. Her reputation and chastity were ruined just like that. Chapter 1475. After Qin Wentian released Su Qingyao, he departed as well. He wandered aimlessly through the city of ancient emperors, searching for ancient ruins. The boundlessly vast city of ancient emperors was rumored to be an independent world that had a connection to the other immortal realms. There were also rumors saying that now that the era had changed, the rules had changed. In that case, there would definitely be many ancient ruins hidden in the city of ancient emperors. Qin Wentian roamed the four directions, causing the saber-sword immortal king to vanish without a trace. Hence, there were rumors saying that the saber-sword immortal king had gone into hiding, not daring to show his face. There were also rumors saying that the saber-sword immortal king might have already left the city of ancient emperors. He knew that he had caused a great calamity, hence he chose to hide from it. Many experts were searching for the saber-sword immortal king, wanting to kill him. Zidi's subordinates also arrived in the city of ancient emperors, searching for traces of the saber-sword immortal king. Right now, it was unknown how many people wanted the saber-sword immortal king's life in the city of ancient emperors. At this moment, Qin Wentian was currently before a dilapidated ancient hall. The emperor's fate behind him was extremely shocking, seemingly corporeal, enveloping Qin Wentian, causing him to feel a great amount of fate. His eyes gleamed with a terrifying light as he stared at the dilapidated hall ahead. His eyes seemed to be able to see through all illusions, allowing him to see the appearance of the ancient hall in the past. It was majestic and majestic, incomparably ancient, with emperor marks carved on it, containing the will of emperors. When he entered, what Qin Wentian saw wasn't a dilapidated hall, but a complete one instead. There seemed to be traces of battle here as the emperor's will gushed into his eyes, causing him to silently comprehend it. Su Qingyao said that emperor's fate is the fate of the city of ancient emperors. Seems like it's true. If I didn't borrow emperor's fate, I wouldn't be able to see the original appearance of this place. To think that emperor's fate actually has such a miraculous effect. How marvelous! Qin Wentian mused, feeling a sense of wonder. Although he hadn't been in the city of ancient emperors for a long time, the things he did during the past few battles were extremely influential. Hence, the amount of emperor's fate he collected was extremely high. After comprehending for a long time, Qin Wentian departed, continuing his journey. Occasionally, he would see others like him, searching for ancient ruins in the city of ancient emperors. Today, Qin Wentian stood in front of an empty piece of land in contemplation. He sat cross-legged and calmed his heart. In his mind, this place wasn't a desolate piece of land. In fact, there was a mountain range in front of him. It was all because of a single sword strike that caused the mountain range to crumble apart. In this place he could faintly sense the aura of that sword strike. Today Qin Wentian came before a mountain. This mountain quietly stood there, looking extremely ordinary. However, under the illumination of his emperor's fate, Qin Wentian could see that this mountain was trembling unceasingly. Below the mountain, there seemed to be a primordial desolate beast suppressing it, causing rumbling sounds to echo out. This was a wondrous realm that couldn't be seen with one's eyes. One could only sense it with one's emperor's fate. Another day, Qin Wentian came before a sea. This wasn't the Eastern Sea, it was the sea in the city of ancient emperors. Other than the central city, the surrounding regions seemed to be boundless. Qin Wentian felt more and more shocked as he ventured deeper. This city of ancient emperors wasn't just a space of its own. It was as vast as an entire world. With his emperor's fate, Qin Wentian could sense that there was an extremely terrifying power in the sea. There were even faint fluctuations of energy coming from the depths of the sea. However, even with his current emperor's fate, he still felt that he couldn't see through it. Maybe if his emperor's fate was stronger, he would be able to see even more. Qin Wentian continued to wander around the city of ancient emperors, gaining many insights. He gradually discovered that there were indeed heaven-shaking secrets in the city of ancient emperors. The Black Dragon said that the era has changed. Su Qingyao also said that the era was different. The rules of the city of ancient emperors were about to change. This caused Qin Wentian to have a premonition that this time around, a heaven-shaking event would happen in the city of ancient emperors. The appearance of the Tiandao Sacred Academy and the descent of the Demon God Mountain would be the prelude to a new era. After seeing so many mysterious things, Qin Wentian didn't forget to cultivate. If he had any insights, he would sit down and meditate, silently comprehending and cultivating bitterly. To the current Qin Wentian, he urgently wanted to raise his strength to the next level. His comprehension of laws, his law domain, how to fuse different attribute energies, and the secrets of the holy will of the Eastern Tomb. All of these required time to comprehend and cultivate, as well as to continuously improve himself. Unknowingly, 2 years have already passed since Qin Wentian entered the city of ancient emperors. Today he sat on a mountain peak with his eyes closed. The law energy radiating from him was even stronger compared to 2 years ago. The law light circulating around him grew increasingly resplendent as well. With a wave of his hand, a supreme suppressive might manifested in this space. The heavens and earth rumbled unceasingly as a supreme pagoda appeared, suppressing everything. This translucent pagoda shone with boundless runic light, resembling a grand formation. The pagoda's intent permeated the area, supporting the formation. At this moment, the pagoda rotated as the pagoda's intent descended. Beams of light from the pagoda radiated with destructive might, blasting into the ancient peaks of the mountain range ahead. In just an instant, the ancient peaks were all razed to the ground. This was a pagoda law domain formed with the holy will of the pagoda as the foundation. It was an evolution of the divine elephant's law domain, infusing the pagoda's suppression energy into the pagoda, allowing it to unleash a suppressive might that could suppress the heavens and earth. It was like a prison, countless times stronger compared to the divine elephant's law domain back then. Back then, he had to unleash the pagoda's holy will in order to unleash its full power. But now, with a single thought of his, he could summon the pagoda's holy will. Other than this, Qin Wentian also comprehended several powerful abilities. Using his comprehension abilities and some of the insights he gained back then, he created some extraordinary innate techniques that were extremely powerful. He didn't unleash them one by one. After comprehending so many different types of energy, he wouldn't feel too restricted in combat. After all, it was best not to use some of the abilities he gained in the past in case others recognized him. The law energy vanished as the surroundings returned to normal. Qin Wentian stood up and with a flash of his silhouette, he left this place. During these 2 years, many great changes occurred in the city of ancient emperors. Even more experts from the immortal realms arrived, as well as greater demons from the desolate mountains. Right now, there were even rumors in the outside world saying that the city of ancient emperors would undergo a great transformation. Maybe a stroke of good fortune would appear in the city of ancient emperors, similar to the era of ancient emperors. Hence, even more experts came to the city of ancient emperors. At this moment, in a certain location, several geniuses were sitting together, discussing the changes in the city of ancient emperors as well as the path of cultivation. Right now, in the city of ancient emperors, the emperor's fate at the peak of the immortal king realm can transform into true dragons and ancient phoenixes, taking on a corporeal form. They can see many ancient ruins and use them to cultivate, growing stronger and stronger. Most probably, they would have a chance to break through to the immortal emperor realm sooner or later, and in the future, they would even have a chance to fight for a supreme position. That's right, the laws in the city of ancient emperors have changed, giving birth to many ancient ruins and secret realms. However, only those with emperor's fate can enter them. The stronger the expert, the further the disparity between them, other than those characters standing at the peak. I wonder if there are any others with extraordinary potential. Fairy Qingyao, it's rumored that the Supreme Crown Prince is deeply in love with you. Do you know how strong he is exactly? Someone glanced at Su Qingyao and asked. The gazes of the crowd all landed on her. Su Qingyao was a supreme beauty and had outstanding talent. There were many people who liked to talk about her. I'm not sure. Su Qingyao calmly replied, her expression cold. Speaking of this, I suddenly thought of a person. That crown prince wanted him to kneel and beg for mercy. Only then would he be spared from death. Up until now, he still hasn't appeared. Most probably, he has already left the city of ancient emperors. Back then, Fairy Qingyao was once held hostage by him. I wonder if you know anything about him? A female smiled as she asked Su Qingyao. A moment later, many people had strange looks in their eyes. This female wanted to expose Su Qingyao's shortcomings. That matter 2 years ago was a stain on Su Qingyao's reputation. Even now, there were still many people who felt that Fairy Qingyao had been tainted. This female immortal king was none other than the admirer of that crown prince. The hearts of everyone were as clear as a mirror. Seems like this female immortal king was doing this intentionally. And as expected, Su Qingyao's expression changed. She coldly spoke, "He's very strong. It's extremely easy for me to kill you." Is that so? Fairy Qingyao is praising him so highly? Why did he flee with his tail between his legs like a stray dog? Right now, there are so many people in the city of ancient emperors who want to kill him. Could it be that Fairy Qingyao has feelings for him? That female immortal king was also extremely beautiful and her cultivation base was the same as Su Qingyao. Her words were even more brazen, causing Su Qingyao's expression to turn increasingly unsightly. The rumors back then might not be true. If he didn't flee like a stray dog, I would definitely kill him if I encountered him. A young man who was in love with Chu Qingyi coldly spoke. His cultivation base was at the peak stage of the immortal king realm. I feel the same way as well. Everyone in the world loves to spread rumors, exaggerating things further and further. A stray dog like him isn't even worth mentioning. If he dares to appear in the city of ancient emperors again, I'm afraid he wouldn't be able to survive for much longer. The female immortal king laughed. There should be experts from the major powers he killed here, right? What do you all think? This old man came to the city of ancient emperors when he already fled. If not, how could he still be alive? An old immortal king from the Taihua immortal dynasty spoke. His aura was majestic, exuding a terrifying might. Sadly, he fled too quickly. A peak stage immortal king from the Supreme Sword School calmly spoke. 2 years ago, during the chaos in the city of ancient emperors, Qin Wentian had offended too many experts, and all of them were from major powers. Is this true? Are all of you so imposing? A voice drifted over. Everyone started as their eyes flashed. After that, they inclined their heads and stared in the direction of the voice. After that, their eyes all froze. Over there, an expert could be seen walking over with a sword and saber strapped to his back. This was the insignia of the saber-sword immortal king. Upon seeing that figure, Su Qingyao's beautiful eyes froze. After that, she gritted her teeth. This bastard actually still dared to appear? This audacious bastard has never left the city of ancient emperors before. Everyone, how majestic and imposing. You are all very similar to those people in the past. All of you have no one in their eyes. Where are they now? Qin Wentian had a smile on his face, exuding an evil charm. The eyes of everyone narrowed. What an arrogant fellow. He was actually the saber-sword immortal king. He actually dared to appear, and even provoke them in public. I'm right here. Who wants to kill me? Qin Wentian swept his gaze over everyone as he spoke, ignoring all the immortal kings here. Chapter 1476. The geniuses here all stared at Qin Wentian. Many of them radiated coldness, radiating an intense killing intent. Arrogant. This saber-sword immortal king was simply too arrogant. He actually appeared before everyone just like that and smiled at them. Who wants to kill me? Did he think that the people here wouldn't be able to kill him? Although his combat prowess was unparalleled, and he was strong enough to kill Zi Daolong, the experts here were as many as the clouds. There were even late-stage peak-stage immortal kings among them who were at the peak stage of the immortal king realm. Qin Wentian was merely a mid-stage immortal king, yet he actually dared to stand here, putting everyone in his eyes. You still dare to appear in the city of ancient emperors? A cold voice rang out. A young-looking peak-stage immortal king stood up. His fists were clenched as his eyes pierced through space, staring straight at Qin Wentian. Who the hell are you? Are you even qualified to speak to me? Qin Wentian domineeringly spoke. That peak-stage immortal king's aura towered up into the sky as he coldly laughed. Fine. Today, I shall take revenge for Fairy Qingyao. His life is mine. Another voice rang out. The person who spoke was none other than the old immortal king from the Taihua immortal dynasty. His aura was majestic and heavy, terrifying to the extreme. It doesn't matter who comes to kill him. As long as he appears here today, he has to die. An immortal king from the Supreme Sword School radiated a terrifying sword intent as he stared at Qin Wentian. Who will go and kill this saber-sword immortal king? A supreme immortal king from the 9 emperors' immortal state coldly spoke. Back then, Qin Wentian killed 5 immortal kings from the 9 emperors' immortal state in a single battle. This matter was simply a humiliation to the 9 emperors' immortal state. Voices rang out unceasingly, all of them wanting to kill the saber-sword immortal king. This caused expressions of interest to appear on the faces of the spectators. For those who came to the city of ancient emperors later, their interest grew even more intense. This fellow actually attracted so much hatred in the city of ancient emperors. But when they heard his words, it was truly infuriating. Just a few sentences from him was enough to ignite the hatred of so many experts. Is that all? Earlier, weren't there a lot of people who said that I didn't deserve my reputation, and that they could easily kill me? In fact, there were quite a few of them. Now that I'm standing here, why aren't you speaking? You can come and kill me now. Qin Wentian swept his gaze over everyone, pausing for a moment on the immortal kings who said they wanted to kill him, including that female immortal king who stood against Su Qingyao. For a filthy person like you, killing you would only dirty my hands. That female immortal king was still as arrogant as ever, exuding a transcendent aura, noble and beautiful. Dirty. Qin Wentian's eyes were sharp. As an immortal king, you actually have no sense of shame, insulting Fairy Qingyao. Is that not dirty enough? That female immortal king's eyes were cold. Even as she belittled Qin Wentian, she didn't forget to insult Su Qingyao. Ha ha ha. Back then Su Qingyao wanted to spar with me, agreeing to accompany me for 7 days if she lost. Many people witnessed this, and after that, I brought Fairy Qingyao away for 7 days. What's wrong with that? How can you say that I'm dirty? As for those whose minds are filled with filthy thoughts, they are the truly dirty ones. Qin Wentian mocked, clearly referring to this female immortal king. How dare you? That female immortal king glared at Qin Wentian in anger. Rumble. Qin Wentian's eyes suddenly gleamed with sharpness. In an instant, a terrifying sword intent pierced through the shadow, slashing through everything. That female immortal king screamed in pain as her eyes bled. She used both her hands to protect her eyes as she screamed in agony. Rumble. The experts in the surroundings all retreated as they stared in shock at this scene. This female immortal king was a mid-stage immortal king. Yet she was actually blinded by a single glance from the saber-sword immortal king? Wasn't this too terrifying? How powerful was this saber sword immortal king exactly? Even his gaze can kill. What technique is this? The hearts of everyone were incomparably shocked as they stared at Qin Wentian. Am I being impudent? Qin Wentian laughed uproariously. There are many people here who have a grudge with me. There's nothing wrong with them wanting to kill me. But who the hell do you think you are? You even dare to speak nonsense here, insulting me as a stray dog? For a despicable person like you to speak behind my back, I'll blind your eyes. You better scram back and reflect on your actions. Qin Wentian's voice was extremely tyrannical, completely ignoring everything. He blinded the female immortal king with a single glance, telling her to go back and reflect on her actions. Arg! The female immortal king screamed in pain and anger. She cultivated to the mid-stage of the immortal king realm, and it was extremely difficult for her. Yet just because of a few words she was blinded. How could this saber-sword immortal king be so terrifying? She didn't dare to retort. Although her eyes were blinded, her strength was still there. If she continued to speak nonsense, the saber-sword immortal king might just kill her directly. I curse you to be sliced into 1,000 pieces. The female immortal king cursed at Qin Wentian in her heart. There were many experts here, and all of them wanted to kill Qin Wentian. She didn't want him to die too quickly. So this is the saber-sword immortal king. Seems like back then when he killed Zi Daolong and caused chaos to the various peak powers, his strength wasn't just for show. Someone mused silently, feeling shocked. Blinding a mid-stage immortal king with a single glance, this was simply too terrifying. Qin Wentian's sharp eyes swept over. Those who insulted Qin Wentian earlier all turned their gazes away, as though they were afraid that Qin Wentian would take revenge, and didn't dare to look him in the eye. Earlier, didn't many people say that I'm a stray dog that fled the city of ancient emperors? Didn't you all say that you could easily kill me? Now why are you all still not coming out to kill me? Qin Wentian arrogantly spoke, disregarding everything in his eyes. His eyes turned to a young-looking immortal king, but in truth, this immortal king had already cultivated for many years and his cultivation base was extremely terrifying. He was a peak-stage immortal king, and was also one of Su Qingyao's admirers. Before this, he called Qin Wentian a stray dog, and if he encountered Qin Wentian, he would definitely kill him. When that person saw Qin Wentian looking at him, he knew that a battle was unavoidable. However, after personally witnessing Qin Wentian's might, as well as Qin Wentian's insufferably arrogant attitude, he was no longer as confident as before. Everyone, this man simply doesn't have us in his eyes at all. Let's kill him directly in case he plans to escape. For such a despicable character, all the heroes in the city of ancient emperors should kill him together. That immortal king spoke righteously, wanting everyone to kill Qin Wentian. Ha ha ha, what a shameless immortal king. Before this, you were so full of yourself, as though I would die for sure if I stood in front of you. Now you are trying to instigate so many immortal kings to gang up on me. Yet you still speak in such a righteous manner? Do you still have any face left? Qin Wentian laughed maniacally. He took a step forward, moving with lightning speed towards that peak-stage immortal king. His eyes were like sharp swords, able to penetrate everything. In the center of his brows, a third eye could be seen. He laughed. Let me show you the power of this seat's sword eye domain. As the sound of his voice faded, his eyes gleamed with a terrifying sword intent. That peak-stage immortal king only felt the sword intent gushing over. He hurriedly retreated, only to see the space around him transforming into a sword eye domain that was akin to a vortex of swords, terrifying to the extreme. Boom. That peak-stage immortal king felt his law energy circulating frenziedly. His body of laws was extremely terrifying, capable of destroying everything. His heart was filled with shock. With a single glance from Qin Wentian, he was able to create a law domain, causing him to sink into the dimension of his eyes. Within that dimension, a terrifying sword intent gushed towards him unceasingly. Can you block it? Qin Wentian roared. Within the sword eye domain, destructive sword might gushed forth. Abruptly, Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with a terrifying light. In just an instant, the sword intent of a sage gushed into his opponent's mind. That peak-stage immortal king only felt a supreme sword slashing towards him, unable to block it at all. Trash. Qin Wentian roared. Within the Sword Eye domain, that peak stage immortal king was directly slain, dying a miserable death. Everyone was shocked as they stared at that supreme silhouette. They only saw Qin Wentian standing there with his hands behind his back. His sword and saber were still sheathed, and just his law domain alone was enough to kill a peak stage immortal king. He was like a heavenly god descending to the mortal world. For characters at the immortal king level, their hearts were naturally filled with arrogance and conceit. They wouldn't easily feel that they were inferior to others. Although the Saber-Sword Immortal King was rumored to be extremely powerful, there were still many powerful Immortal Kings who weren't convinced. However, at this moment, when the Saber-Sword Immortal King truly appeared, they discovered to their shock that the rumors weren't exaggerated at all. In fact, the Saber-Sword Immortal King who appeared before them basically wasn't terrifying at all. This Saber-Sword Immortal King was far stronger than they had imagined. No wonder he dared to come here alone, and was still so arrogant despite facing so many immortal kings, not putting them in his eyes at all. Those experts who wanted to kill Qin Wentian earlier all had heavy expressions on their faces. Seems like the person they wanted to kill was even more terrifying than they had imagined. Was this the reason why Qin Wentian was so fearless and unbridled? Was this the reason why he dared to kill so many people in the city of ancient emperors? The Supreme Sword School, the 9 Emperors' immortal state and the other peak powers, none of them could enter his eyes. Su Qingyao stared at Qin Wentian as great waves rose in her heart. Although she had a noble background and had seen countless geniuses before, she had never seen anyone as brazen as this man before her. A mid-stage immortal king actually rushed into the crowd of peak-stage immortal kings and directly started a massacre. There were over 10 people here that he wanted to kill. This man was lawless and out of control. Most probably, there was nothing in his eyes at all. No wonder he dared to take advantage of her and abduct her away. Those immortal kings who hated Qin Wentian didn't act immediately. They were silently transmitting their voices to each other, discussing how they should kill Qin Wentian. This saber-sword immortal king's strength was terrifying. He could kill Zidaolong and easily kill initial phase peak stage immortal kings. His combat prowess should be comparable to ordinary late phase peak stage immortal kings. If they fought against him alone, none of them here had absolute confidence that they could kill Qin Wentian. Why are you all still not acting? Are you guys discussing how to kill me? Qin Wentian coldly laughed when he saw their silence. There's no need to care about face. Just come at me together. It's not like I don't know how shameless you guys are. Why is there a need to consider for so long? Everyone, he is seeking death. Let's just kill him. There's no need to waste too much time. If he kills some of us, it wouldn't be worth it. One of the immortal kings spoke. Chapter 1477. Qin Wentian turned his gaze over, staring at the immortal king who just spoke. His demonic eyes flashed with coldness as a sharp sword intent shot out from his eyes, penetrating into the eyes of the immortal king who just spoke. That immortal king screamed in agony as blood seeped out of his eyes as his entire body trembled. It's naturally not a problem if you want to kill me, but you have to think carefully before you act. Qin Wentian waved his hand, slashing out gently. However, a terrifying beam of sword light flashed through the air, directly slicing through the body of the mid-stage immortal king who just spoke. Several experts rushed over, but Qin Wentian only left a corpse for them. Qin Wentian's actions were too fast. With a single glance, with a wave of his hand he killed. He was simply as terrifying as a devil god, invincible. You. Those immortal kings stared at Qin Wentian in rage, their eyes gleaming with blood-colored killing intent, terrifying to the extreme. What about me? I'm the one who told you all to gang up on me. But could it be that I can't kill those who want to gang up on me? Do you think I'm a fool? Qin Wentian snorted. He took a step forward as his sword eye law domain expanded outwards, instantly enveloping this entire space. Hurry up and act. If we don't act now, we will be defeated one by one. Those immortal kings roared. The others exchanged glances. Qin Wentian earlier said that he would act only after he thought carefully. For those who wanted to kill him, he would definitely kill them. If they couldn't kill him, they would die for sure. Attack, kill. The peak stage immortal king from the Supreme Sword School spoke. A moment later, numerous supreme swords appeared in the air as a towering sword domain appeared, enveloping Qin Wentian within. Numerous gigantic swords descended from the sky, piercing through space, directly surrounding Qin Wentian. This entire space transformed into an incomparably terrifying sword formation diagram, trapping Qin Wentian within it. Numerous sharp swords descended from the sky, slicing through space as they shot towards Qin Wentian. Their Supreme Sword School was already mortal enemies with the Saber Sword Immortal King. They naturally had to kill him. They were all Supreme Immortal Kings. How decisive were they? With a single command, everyone instantly acted, setting up a sword domain formation, wanting to kill Qin Wentian here. Do it. The old man from the Taihua Immortal Dynasty also spoke. Several Immortal Kings attacked, and in an instant, an even more violent wave of attacks gushed towards Qin Wentian. Numerous terrifying royal imprints descended from the sky, each of them containing boundless might and indomitable might. All of them blasted towards Qin Wentian. The Saber Sword Immortal King, how should he deal with his opponent? Everyone stared at the battlefield. The Saber Sword Immortal King was in the middle of a terrifying sword formation diagram. Tens of thousands of swords slashed down from the sky as many royal imprints shot down from the sky. Although the Saber Sword Immortal King was extremely powerful, many people were worried for him right now. However, since he dared to kill his way here and challenged so many major powers, he definitely didn't come here to throw his life away, only to see that at this moment, before the gazes of everyone, the Saber Sword Immortal King's body shone with a dazzling light. His body grew incomparably large, transforming into a terrifying giant, causing many spectators to retreat in fear, wanting to avoid being affected by the shockwaves. At this instant, the gigantic body of the Saber Sword Immortal King seemed to be enveloped by a terrifying grand formation. Millions of runic inscriptions formed an indestructible body as God's hand circulated within it. In the eyes of everyone, the Saber Sword Immortal King's body of laws was as dazzling as an indestructible divine body. What a powerful body of laws! Has he cultivated his body to the pinnacle? Even for body refiners, it's impossible for their bodies to be so tyrannical, right? His body is like a grand formation, like a supreme divine body. Qin Wentian's body was naturally powerful. Ever since he was young, he had been refining his body. After that, he underwent the Fiend God body refinement art, the tempering of his bloodline, the tempering of God's hand, and the Vajra holy will. Right now, the strength of his body of laws was simply unimaginable. Many experts drew in a breath of cold air. This was too shocking. When Qin Wentian's body grew larger, they could clearly see how terrifying his body of laws was. It didn't seem like the body of a human. It was more like a grand formation, an indestructible divine weapon. When the shockingly sharp sword slashed down, the terrifying sword diagrams tore at his body, and the insufferably arrogant seals slammed into his body. The sound of an ancient bell ringing could be heard. The strength of this body of laws was comparable to the peerless greater demons of the desolate mountains. Those who have nothing to do with this, retreat. A thunderous roar rang out. The peak stage immortal kings from the Taihua Immortal Dynasty had long retreated far away. Seems like this battle was about to erupt with heaven-shaking might, engulfing this entire space. As expected, an even stronger sword domain and sword formation manifested. The sword formation diagram on the ground transformed frenziedly, expanding outwards, enveloping this entire space. The experts from the Taihua Immortal Dynasty all condensed royal law imprints. Each imprint was as large as a meteor, capable of suppressing the heavens and earth, destroying the void. Ha ha ha, so many peak powers here. Could it be that you only have this little bit of strength? You can't even bring out a decent law domain? Qin Wentian laughed maniacally. His body grew to a size of over 10 million meters, causing the entire space to tremble. The experts from afar all felt their bodies trembling, feeling incomparably shocked in their hearts. This Saber Sword Immortal King was simply too powerful, mocking all the peak powers here as trash. Before this, when I killed those ant-like immortal kings of yours, I didn't even need to unleash my law domain. Since you guys only have this little bit of strength, I will let you all broaden your horizons today. Take a look at this seat's law domain. Qin Wentian laughed uproariously, exuding boundless arrogance. As the sound of his voice faded, his law domain manifested. The pagoda prison law domain manifested together with the rumbling sounds of the pagoda. In this boundlessly vast space, a pagoda prison appeared, imprisoning this entire space, suppressing everything. Within the pagoda prison, a heaven-shaking suppressive might cause those mid-stage immortal kings to directly lie on the ground, finding it hard to straighten their backs. The pagoda prison law domain shimmered with a towering runic light, resembling a heaven-shaking grand formation. His law domain was infused with God's hand, the holy will of the Eastern Tomb, as well as many other attribute energies. Each of these energies were extremely rare, and were naturally incomparably powerful. Even for the geniuses of the peak powers here, it was impossible for them to be mentioned in the same breath as him. There's an ancient saying, if you can comprehend the Tao in the morning, you can die in the evening. Today this seat will let all of you see what the Tao is, what an immortal king is. You guys can go and die now. Qin Wentian's voice thundered through the air. As the sound of his voice faded, the pagoda law domain radiated with a terrifying pagoda might. The light from the pagoda circulated around the area as the might of the pagoda manifested. A beam of light directly blasted into a mid-stage immortal king, penetrating through his body. That immortal king groaned in misery as he coughed out fresh blood. His internal organs were all shattered as he collapsed to the ground, dead. Everyone was incomparably shocked. They simply didn't dare to believe the scene before their eyes. This was too shocking. They were all immortal kings, but how could the saber-sword immortal king, who was at the mid-stage of the immortal king realm, be so powerful to this extent? He was simply invincible. The emperor's fate behind him soared up, growing more and more resplendent as it absorbed the luck from the city of ancient emperors. Within the pagoda prison law domain, many immortal kings were filled with despair. They had no way to imagine how powerful this was. When the destructive pagoda will bore down on them, they all had expressions of terror on their faces. As the rumbling sounds rang out, those below the peak stage of the immortal king realm all died one after another, unable to withstand a single strike. For those at the same level as Qin Wentian, none of them could withstand the attacks from Qin Wentian's law domain. Even for initial phase peak stage immortal kings, they were all bitterly enduring, coughing out blood from the attacks. Qin Wentian turned his gaze to the immortal kings in the pagoda prison, as his expression was cold to the extreme. Since these people wanted to kill him, he would just kill them. As long as they don't offend him, he wouldn't take the initiative to create trouble. However, when others wanted to kill him, he wouldn't show mercy. As a hero who cultivated to the peak stage of the mid-stage immortal king realm, how could he still have the heart of cowardice? He could only press forward and annihilate all his enemies. With a wave of his hand, a sharp sword was unsheathed, directly slashing towards an initial phase peak stage immortal king below. That immortal king was still resisting the pagoda prison's law energy. When the sword intent bore down on him, he had no way to block it, and was directly slain. With a scream of agony, his eyes filled with despair stared at Qin Wentian, as though he was unwilling to die. Qin Wentian waved his sword, causing sword chi to pierce through the heavens and earth. He was like a god of destruction. Who could obstruct him? Su Qingyao's heartbeat quickened, feeling incomparably shocked. She knew that Qin Wentian was strong, but she didn't expect him to be this strong. So strong to the point where it caused despair in others. Let alone mid-stage immortal kings, even many peak-stage immortal kings felt despair. If he broke through to the peak stage, who would be able to obstruct him? Would those people be able to obstruct him? This saber-sword immortal king was someone who could contend against the most outstanding geniuses in the city of ancient emperors for luck. Maybe he had the qualifications to break through to that level, becoming one of the most dazzling characters of this era. Naturally, the prerequisite was that he had to be alive first. After offending so many experts, no matter how strong he was, would he be able to survive? Su Qingyao felt some doubts. I'm inferior to him. I won't be able to catch up to him in this lifetime. An expert sighed. Before this, he was also bragging here, saying that he wanted to kill the saber-sword immortal king. But now how ironic was that? If the saber-sword immortal king wanted to kill him, it would be as simple as killing an ant. When he thought of this, he glanced at Su Qingyao before turning and departing the area. He was worried that Qin Wentian would find him for revenge. Many people had the same thoughts as this immortal king. Not long ago when they were discussing the Tao, all of them were extremely arrogant. But now, just a moment after the battle erupted, Qin Wentian's absolute combat prowess caused them to feel a sense of helplessness. Killing the saber-sword immortal king? They weren't even qualified to carry the shoes of the saber-sword immortal king. Many people who wanted to kill the saber-sword immortal king all shut up. In fact, there were even some who silently departed. Maybe they felt that they had no face to remain here. Or maybe, they felt that if they stayed here, Qin Wentian would take revenge on them because of what they said earlier. At the same time when they left, many more immortal kings rushed over here to witness this shocking battle. The saber-sword immortal king's unparalleled might. Chapter 1478. Who is this man? An expert who didn't know anything asked. The saber-sword immortal king. Someone replied. 2 years ago, he killed Zi Daolong and even dared to abduct Fairy Qingyao? Isn't he a mid-stage immortal king? How can he be so terrifying? Even when so many immortal kings ganged up on him, they were all killed by him. Someone exclaimed. Yeah, he's too powerful. Before this, I still thought that the rumors were exaggerated. But from the looks of it now, not only were they not exaggerated, they even underestimated the saber-sword immortal king. He's simply a heaven-shaking demon-level genius, like a divine body. Only those who personally witnessed this battle could truly feel how terrifying Qin Wentian was. That gigantic body crushed everything. His pagoda prison law domain swept through the area, annihilating all existences. Nobody could stop him. Many of those immortal kings who wanted to kill him earlier had already fled. As for those who participated in the battle, they were all killed on the spot. Not long after the battle erupted, only 2 late-stage immortal kings were still alive, continuing to fight. One of them was an old man from the Taihua immortal dynasty, while the other was a supreme character from the 9 emperors immortal state. Emperor Dragon Imprint kill. That old man from the Taihua immortal dynasty roared. His white beard fluttered in the wind as his body grew larger, becoming the same size as Qin Wentian. He stood in front of Qin Wentian, resembling a divinity. A heaven-shaking emperor might gushed forth from him as a world-shaking ancient imprint slammed down, causing an aura of absolute destruction to permeate the air. That supreme imprint seemed to have a true dragon roaring out, growing tens of thousands of meters long, wanting to devour this entire space. Haha, old fellow, you are about to enter the grave yet you still dare to fight against this seat. Qin Wentian laughed maniacally, manifesting the image of the saber-sword immortal king. In the future, as long as someone mentioned the saber-sword immortal king, they would think of this unexcelled character, who claimed to be unexcelled in the world. His sword and saber arts were both extremely shocking, and his law domain was tyrannical and invincible. Qin Wentian slashed out with a fearsome sword art. His sword art was like a dragon. The roars of dragons shook the heavens and earth, containing a towering sword intent as he slashed towards his opponent's Emperor Dragon Imprint. With a thunderous boom, it was as though 2 true demonic dragons were born, clashing against each other, resembling a battle between divinities. The sword light ferociously shot forward, destroying everything in its path. With a loud rumble, the Emperor Dragon seal was destroyed. Boom! Behind him, an incomparably ferocious fist light pierced through the heavens and earth. It came from the shadow of a human emperor. The shadow of the human emperor was almost corporeal, like the Dharma body of a peak-level immortal king of the 9 emperors' immortal state. The unparalleled fist light pierced through the heavens and earth, striking towards Qin Wentian. In the end, the remaining 2 strongest immortal kings transformed into giants just like Qin Wentian. They bombarded each other from the front and back. They wanted to kill Qin Wentian at all costs. If Qin Wentian didn't die, then they would. Are you ashamed? Qin Wentian roared. A gigantic palm imprint blasted out, transforming into a sky-blotting devil palm that shattered everything, blasting towards the 2 late-stage peak-stage immortal kings. The pagoda law domain continued to rain down unceasingly, suppressing the two of them. The destructive might of the pagoda blasted towards them. The two peak-stage immortal kings had no choice but to use their full strength to defend. If their cultivation bases were lower, they would have already died like the others. 10,000 Seals Law Domain. The immortal king of the Taihua immortal dynasty roared. His law domain radiated an even brighter light, causing heaven-shaking imprints to appear in all directions, radiating a fearsome aura. Old fellow, it's useless. Your weak law domain is completely useless before this seat. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. The pagoda will bore down on the imprints, shattering them unceasingly. He stepped out and spoke arrogantly. I won't play with you anymore. This seat will send you on your way. As the sound of his voice faded, a terrifying lightning sword intent shot out from his eyes, penetrating through space, directly arriving before the old man. That old man was long prepared for this. He protected himself with his laws and Emperor Qi, but the sword intent couldn't penetrate through his defenses. A demonic smile flickered in Qin Wentian's eyes. The sword in his hand was like a torrential river of swords, gushing forth ferociously, wanting to destroy everything. At this instant, the old man only felt an illusion appearing in front of him, as though he was about to fall into a dreamscape. Not good. As expected of a peak-stage immortal king, his will was extremely strong. He instantly sensed that something was wrong and struggled free. His sword intent slashed out, wanting to destroy everything. With a thunderous roar, he unleashed his might, but at this instant, he only saw the cold eyes of Qin Wentian shooting out beams of illusory light. In just an instant, the old man's body trembled violently as a terrifying scene appeared in his mind. Qin Wentian wielded an ancient halberd and directly pierced towards his mind. Soul attack. The old man's heart pounded violently. Was this saber-sword immortal king still human? He had cultivated his strength to such a terrifying extent, and he actually cultivated soul attacks as well. The stronger one's cultivation base was, the stronger their soul attacks would be. But at this moment, this peak-stage immortal king felt his heart trembling. He felt that the god of death was closing in on him. Go to hell. A thunderous roar that seemed to originate from his soul, and also from the external world, rang out. When he saw Qin Wentian's ancient halberd piercing towards his soul, he involuntarily tightened his defense. With a piercing sound, before his soul could even be penetrated, Qin Wentian's sword intent penetrated through everything, piercing into his mind. A late-stage peak-stage immortal king was slain. Everything happened in an extremely short period of time. During this period of time, the peak-stage immortal king of the 9 emperors immortal state naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity. He slashed out with a terrifying human emperor sword, slashing down on Qin Wentian's indestructible body. The Vajra Holy Will radiated a terrifying might, slashing apart the runes in the air. However, at this moment, Qin Wentian's body radiated a fearsome defensive barrier that shone with a blood-colored light. This caused the human emperor sword to be unable to kill Qin Wentian. It only managed to injure Qin Wentian, leaving behind a bloody wound on his indestructible body. This was the first time Qin Wentian was injured since the start of the battle. However, this injury caused many to draw in a cold breath as they stared at Qin Wentian. That was an attack from a late-stage peak-stage immortal king. Yet it only injured him and didn't kill him. Was this really the defense of a mid-stage immortal king? Was he wearing some kind of powerful defensive divine weapon? Their guesses weren't wrong. Qin Wentian was indeed wearing a defensive divine weapon, one that was forged in the Eastern Tomb Immortal City. If it wasn't for this defensive divine weapon, his injuries would have been even more severe. After all, the attack of a late-stage peak-stage immortal king was extremely powerful. However, this defensive divine weapon didn't have much of an effect on Qin Wentian's defense. The reason why his defense was so strong was because of the Vajra indestructible body. That was akin to a Vajra grand formation that was infused with God's hand, and the Vajra holy will. How strong was his defense exactly? Ordinary immortal kings wouldn't even dare to imagine it. That peak-stage immortal king from the 9 emperors immortal state was also stunned. He didn't expect that such an attack would only injure Qin Wentian. When Qin Wentian killed the Taihua Immortal Dynasty's peak-stage immortal king, His heart pounded violently as he actually retreated backwards. It was like he knew that it was impossible for him to win against this demon-level genius. It was useless even if he was a level higher than him. Oh no, he has already lost his battle intent. How would he be able to fight against a character like the Saber-Sword Immortal King? Everyone sighed. Even two late-stage peak-stage Immortal Kings were useless, unable to defeat Qin Wentian. In fact, this peak-stage Immortal King from the 9 Emperors Immortal State was actually preparing to flee. From this, one could very well imagine how terrifying the Saber-Sword Immortal King was. And as expected, things were just like what the spectators expected. Since he had lost his battle intent, how would he be able to fight against Qin Wentian? Let alone the fact that he was still trapped within Qin Wentian's law domain. Not long after, that peak-stage Immortal King from the 9 Emperors Immortal State was heavily injured. Qin Wentian clenched his fist, grabbing the head of that peak-stage Immortal King as he laughed maniacally. "You all want to kill me? Can you do it?" As he spoke, he clenched his fist. With a thunderous boom, another peak-stage Immortal King died miserably. Upon seeing this scene, the hearts of many couldn't help but tremble. Among the spectators, there were even experts from the peak powers who were killed. But at this moment, none of them dared to step out. If they stepped out, only death would await them. They had to find the most powerful experts from their respective sects in the city of ancient emperors to kill this saber-sword Immortal King. Is there anyone else who wants to kill me? After Qin Wentian killed all the experts who were fighting against him, he stared at the crowd as he asked. No one dared to reply. The emperor's fate behind him grew more and more terrifying. This time, Qin Wentian returned in such a domineering manner. His main purpose was to gain emperor's fate. He wanted to gain the faith of everyone, causing the people in the city of ancient emperors to respect and fear him. By doing so, his emperor's fate would continue to grow stronger and stronger. Emperor's fate was also known as fate. Only when his luck was strong would he be able to pry into the secrets of the city of ancient emperors. In the future, if there are still people who want to kill me, feel free to speak up. Qin Wentian spoke in arrogance. His body returned to its normal size and with a flash, he soared through the air, leaving this place. Who? He left. This saber-sword Immortal King is too terrifying. Yeah, for such a character, only the most demon-level geniuses in the city of ancient emperors would be able to kill him. Most probably, there are some people who want to act against him. Su Qingyao was speechless as she stared at his vanishing figure. Before he came here, many people doubted him and wanted to kill him. Their reasons were all different. There were major powers who wanted revenge, there were those who admired him, and there were also those who wanted Emperor's fate. But now, who would still dare to have such thoughts? The news of the battle soon circulated. Those people who boasted shamelessly about wanting to kill the saber-sword Immortal King all fell silent, no longer daring to speak recklessly. They were afraid that they might invite a calamity upon themselves. In that battle, the saber-sword Immortal King's achievements were simply too glorious. Who wouldn't fear him? At this moment, another voice rang out in the city of ancient emperors, tyrannical to the extreme. That Crown Prince character spoke. If the saber-sword Immortal King still didn't kneel and beg for mercy, he would personally act and cripple the saber-sword Immortal King's cultivation, allowing his enemies to torture him to death. As this voice rang out, many people sighed in admiration. As expected of the Crown Prince, he was as tyrannical as ever. No matter how powerful the saber-sword Immortal King was, he didn't even have the qualifications to be arrogant before him. Chapter 1479. Qin Wentian vanished once more. This time around, the main reason why he came out was because he felt that his emperor's fate wasn't strong enough. Hence, he forcefully barged into the city of ancient emperors and initiated a glorious battle, causing his emperor's fate to grow even stronger. After this battle, he directly departed, heading towards the boundlessly vast city of ancient emperors in search of good fortune. Emperor's fate was fate. The stronger one's fate was, the more good fortune one would be able to see. Qin Wentian could already confirm this point. This time around, his emperor's fate grew even stronger. He had already visited some of the mysterious places in the city of ancient emperors, and was able to see more secrets than before. As for the words of the crown prince, although he had heard of it before, he didn't really care about it. At his current cultivation realm, his state of heart was extremely extraordinary. How could he be angered by a single word from others? In addition, it was rumored that the crown prince was a character who stood at the peak of the immortal king realm in the city of ancient emperors. His cultivation base was also at the peak stage of the immortal king realm. Even if what the crown prince said was true and he could defeat Qin Wentian, what did that mean? What he wanted to do now was to increase his strength. When he reached the peak stage of the immortal king realm, he believed that he would be able to sweep through all the immortal kings in the city of ancient emperors. At that time, all the emperor's fate in the city of ancient emperors would belong to him. However, raising one's strength wasn't something that could be done in a day or two. This was especially so for those who have cultivated to Qin Wentian's current cultivation realm. For some people, they might not be able to break through even after thousands or tens of thousands of years. Although the era had changed, with many shocking characters appearing and the fate of the entire immortal realms changing, if he didn't have any great good fortune, he wouldn't be able to break through to the peak stage of the immortal king realm in a short period of time. And for such good fortune, Qin Wentian naturally hoped that he would be able to find it in the city of ancient emperors. Not only for him, those famous characters in the city of ancient emperors were also searching for good fortune here. Their names resounded through the city of ancient emperors, and their emperor's fate was extremely dense. They could manifest corporeal forms and knew a lot more. Naturally, they had to search for good fortune of their own. Hence, in the city of ancient emperors, the saber-sword immortal king's whereabouts were as elusive as a dragon's head. However, a group of people who wanted to hunt him down naturally included Ziti, and a peak-stage immortal king prince from the 9 emperors' immortal state. His strength was extremely shocking, and the saber-sword immortal king killed many immortal kings from his 9 emperors' immortal state. He naturally had to take revenge for this. There was also that crown prince character. His command had no effect on Qin Wentian. The saber-sword immortal king directly vanished, causing his words to be like a fart. He was enraged and immediately gave the order to search for the saber-sword immortal king. However, how could he find the saber-sword immortal king? At this moment, Qin Wentian arrived before a mountain. He came here once before and felt that this mountain was extremely mystical. Under the augmentation of Emperor's fate, he could see through the mysteries, but he had no way to see through them completely. This time he came here again. His Emperor's fate flourished. His eyes became even more terrifying, as though they were shining with golden runic light. In an instant the heavens and earth changed. This entire space seemed to have changed. In the desolate mountain range, immortal palaces, pavilions, and pavilions appeared. There was even the sound of flowing water flowing down from the mountains. There was even a waterfall cascading down. Qin Wentian's heart trembled. How could this be? There were actually 2 completely different types of spatial illusions. Is this an illusory technique? Isn't this a little too realistic? Qin Wentian silently mused. He observed this space as he slowly stepped out. The melody of a zither rang out. It was extremely melodious. He couldn't help but to walk in the direction of the melody. In front of a pavilion with flowing water, a middle-aged man with long black hair could be seen playing the zither. At this moment, that middle-aged man inclined his head and stared at Qin Wentian. In just an instant, Qin Wentian's eyes seemed to be pierced through as he fell into a void. In this desolate space, only that middle-aged man stood there. Who are you? An ethereal voice drifted over. It was unknown where it originated from. Qin Wentian wanted to struggle free, but he discovered that he had no idea where to start. This illusory technique was simply too tyrannical, causing him to fall into a trance with a single glance. It was simply too terrifying. This one is the saber-sword immortal king. Qin Wentian spoke. You lied to me. You are wearing a mask on your face, hiding your identity. What do you mean by that? That voice rang out once more. Qin Wentian's heart trembled. He didn't expect that the middle-aged man would be able to see through him with a single glance. Qin Wentian removed his mask, revealing his true features. I'm Qin Wentian. Because I have too many enemies, I have to hide my identity. I hope that Senior won't blame me. As the sound of his voice faded, the scene earlier vanished. He once again returned to that beautiful illusory scene. The middle-aged man before him had long hair that draped over his shoulders, exuding a carefree aura. His eyes gleamed with sharpness, exuding a fearsome might. It was unknown how many terrifying characters he was. Given Senior's cultivation base, why would you be in the city of ancient emperors? Qin Wentian was slightly startled. You basically have no idea what sort of place the city of ancient emperors is, right? The middle-aged man inclined his head, his black eyes staring at Qin Wentian as he emotionlessly spoke. Junior heard that the city of ancient emperors is an independent dimension, containing Tao elements from other immortal realms. I don't know if this is true or false. I hope that Senior can guide me. Qin Wentian clasped his hands. This middle-aged man was able to cause him to fall into a trance with a single glance. He was definitely an Empyrean character. The city of ancient emperors has a total of 3 dimensions. The third dimension is also known as the overlapping dimension. In order to restrict immortal emperors from seizing the good fortune of immortal kings, there are overlapping dimensions. The 3 dimensions you are in are one, overlapping with each other. However, both of you are restricted by the laws of the city of ancient emperors. You don't know the existence of the other, but you can share everything in the third dimension. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed when he heard this. There was actually such a thing? As for the Tao elements from other immortal realms you spoke of, it's true. However, they don't exist in every era. Only when the laws of the heavens and earth change, and an extraordinary era descends would the Tao elements from other immortal realms appear. Also, in such an era, the price of seizing the Tao elements is extremely high. The middle-aged man continued. What price? Qin Wentian asked. When a Tao element appears, there would definitely be many experts competing for it. It's incomparably cruel, and each Tao element would only choose a single person to inherit it. Hence, the other competitors would all die. As long as you accept the Tao element in the city of ancient emperors, you have to walk on this bloody path of slaughter, defeating all your enemies in the world. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed, feeling a little shocked in his heart. In that case, the reason why the Black Dragon said the era had changed, and the rules were changed, forcing him to compete with the other geniuses in the city of ancient emperors, was because of this? Senior, how do you know so much about this? Qin Wentian curiously asked. Who are you and why are you here? Haha, do you find it very strange? Because I'm the one who lost the competition for the Tao element and was sealed here, forever sealed in the city of ancient emperors. That middle-aged man spoke, his words causing Qin Wentian's heart to tremble. Senior, are you a character from the ancient era? That's right. Not only for me, there are also many people who didn't die. All of them were sealed here in the city of ancient emperors, but ordinary people wouldn't be able to see them. Your emperor's fate is extremely strong, and you cultivate an ability similar to mine. That's why you can come here and see me. What ability? Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. The power of dreams. This place is a dreamscape created by Senior. Qin Wentian's eyes flickered. In that case, when I was trapped in the independent space earlier, was that a dream within a dream? Your reaction isn't bad. Everything you saw was merely a dreamscape, a combination of a dream and a certain type of energy. In reality, everything you saw was fake. When I saw the Emperor's fate on you, I knew that the rules of the city of ancient emperors are changing. Another era has arrived. The middle-aged man sighed. How can Junior help Senior break free? Qin Wentian asked. Help me break free? Haha. The middle-aged man laughed uproariously. We are fated to meet. Earlier when we met, I'll let you know the cruel truth of the city of ancient emperors. You're on your own now. As the sound of his voice faded, the illusory space gradually dissipated. Qin Wentian still stood before the mountain, staring at the illusory scene before him. Everything seemed to be fake, and that middle-aged man didn't even exist here. Qin Wentian sat down cross-legged, directly cultivating here. The space stacked up, and the dream felt real. Qin Wentian had an epiphany in his heart. The power of the dreamscape shouldn't be limited to creating the Dream Devil Sword art. There should be even more miraculous uses to it. Every time he cultivated, every time he leveled up, Qin Wentian's comprehension of law energy would deepen, and his cultivation base would grow stronger as well. After cultivating for a long time, Qin Wentian left, but he still roamed around the city of ancient emperors. He saw many wondrous sceneries and saw some empyreans entering the secret realms to cultivate. He also had his own good fortune. Unknowingly, Qin Wentian has already been in the city of ancient emperors for many years. During these years, the city of ancient emperors kept on changing. Many rarely seen phenomena appeared. For example, there were ancient trees that extended down from the sky, exuding a terrifying law energy. There were also ancient mountains that bloomed with flowers. There were plants that transformed into the Tao, exuding all sorts of powerful law energy. There were also plants that swayed in the wind, exuding a heaven-shaking sword might that would slay anyone who got close to them. These strange phenomena were somewhat similar to the demon god mountain back then. Many people said that the appearance of these phenomena was a sign that a great opportunity was about to descend. Something major was about to happen in the city of ancient emperors. Finally, this day has arrived. In the airspace above the city of ancient emperors, a resplendent light illuminated the area. At this instant, the ancient trees grew even more luxuriant. Their branches and leaves clasped their hands towards the sky, as though they were worshipping a saint. Numerous flowers of life broke through the gigantic rocks in the mountain range, growing madly, as though they were in a rush to bathe in some kind of light. The plants and spiritual qi in the air were also growing rapidly, welcoming this great change. At this instant, the countless empyreans in the city of ancient emperors all inclined their heads and stared at the sky. Over there, boundless runic light cascaded downwards, transforming into ancient characters as the melody of the great Tao resounded through the air. This phenomenon caused everyone to be stunned. Tao element inheritance. This is the legendary Tao element inheritance. There's actually a Tao element from the outer heavens descending into the city of ancient emperors. Someone exclaimed in shock. As expected, there was karma behind the changes in the world. Chapter 1480. The city of ancient emperors was in an uproar. The Wuxia and the city of ancient emperors were all shocked, feeling that a great fortune had descended upon them. As expected, the era had changed. The rules of the city of ancient emperors had changed as well. Such a thing was something they had never seen before or heard of before. They had only heard of some legends regarding the Tao elements in the immortal realms. But who would have thought that they would personally witness it today? In a desolate area in the city of ancient emperors, Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the sky. Around him, the wild grass grew sharper, radiating the might of law energy as they soared up into the sky, exuding sharpness and sharpness. In the distance there was a mountain range. Flowers burst through boulders, growing out from within. However, it was as if he didn't see it at all. There was only the endless brilliance that kept falling from the void, like a heavenly scroll, descending from the heavens, passing down the inheritance. Was this the Tao orthodoxy inheritance that the senior in the dream had mentioned? If one wanted to obtain the inheritance of a Tao element, they had to defeat all the other competitors before they could live freely. If not, they would be bound by the Tao element and be killed or imprisoned in the city of ancient emperors forever. He soared into the air and stared into the distance. The closer he got to the central region of the city of ancient emperors, the more resplendent the light was. It was like that was the true source of power from the Tao element. With a step, his silhouette flickered as he sped towards that direction. Not only for Qin Wentian, at this moment, all the experts in the city of ancient emperors were doing their best to fly towards the central region. At the same time, they kept staring at the light cascading down, as though they were afraid they would miss out on something. In the air, numerous magnificent figures soared up into the sky. They wanted to see through the Tao element, but many people only felt that it was extremely mysterious and unfathomable. This Tao element is too mysterious. I can't see through it at all. What comprehension abilities do we need? Yeah, the Tao element has appeared in the city of ancient emperors, causing a phenomenon. This is simply too shocking. This Tao element gives me the feeling that the myriad of things are growing, as well as the power of the great Tao of the Buddhist path. This feeling is extremely mysterious, but I can't comprehend it at all. Seems like it's too early to be excited. If we can't see through it, even if the Tao element appears, it would have nothing to do with us. After all, would it belong to those supreme characters? Many people couldn't help but sigh when they realized that they couldn't comprehend it after the excitement. Look over there. An immortal king pointed to the air, only to see several experts sitting cross-legged in different locations in the air. Their expressions were solemn and solemn, exuding an inviolable holiness. They basked in the light of their Tao elements and were quietly comprehending. There were also extraordinary figures. Divine radiance shone resplendently, brimming with health and vigor, seeing through everything. When they looked at those inheritances' power, their bodies shone with natural law radiance, as if they were going to shine together. This is a Buddhist orthodoxy. There was someone who put his palms together, solemn and respectful like an ancient Buddha, as if he wanted to see through those ancient characters. It seems like the Emperor's fate is able to help people see through this orthodoxy's inheritance more clearly. Emperor's fate was fate. If one didn't have enough Emperor's fate, their fate wouldn't be strong enough. Even if a Tao element appeared, they wouldn't have a chance. How cruel was this? Only those who stood at the very peak would have such good fortune. However, there were also some extraordinary stellar martial cultivators who released their Buddhapath astral souls and circulated their Buddhapath secret arts to resonate with the Emperor's fate, causing the connection to be even stronger, and they could see through some of the Tao elements. They immediately stood there solemnly and calmed their hearts, trying to comprehend more. At a certain location, Wuxia appeared in the air. His palms were pressed together as he circulated a Buddhist innate technique. His eyes turned golden as ancient Buddhist characters floated around him. He stared at the runic light that cascaded down unceasingly, resembling scrolls of scriptures, boundless and boundless. The melody of the great Tao drifted into his ears. It's really a Buddhist orthodoxy. Wuxia could already be sure that if it wasn't a Buddhist orthodoxy, given his Emperor's fate, he most probably wouldn't be able to comprehend the secrets of this Tao element. A Buddhist orthodoxy? What a pity, it's useless to my desolate mountain range. Only to see that in a certain location in the air, a group of experts stood there, exuding an incomparably imposing aura. The person in the lead exuded disdain and disdain, exuding the aura of an emperor. He was like an emperor among demons, unexcelled in the world. Indeed, a Buddhist orthodoxy. Even if we demon cultivators can see through it, we have no way to cultivate it. It's just too convenient for us bald donkeys. Another greater demon spoke. He sat in the golden sun chariot, exuding an incomparably imposing aura. The experts around him were as common as the clouds, all of them exuding extraordinary auras. The expert on the golden sun chariot was none other than the one who descended from the sky and killed a prince of the Taihua immortal dynasty with a single strike. He was one of the peak characters in this world. Not only for him, many peak characters of the demon race and human race also appeared in the air. Even for those who didn't come, they were rushing over from afar. When the Tao element appeared, all of them stopped their cultivation and wanted to see what was going on. Among them, in a certain direction, a group of beauties could be seen standing there, exuding boundless charm. Just a single gaze from them could cause people to fall into their charms. Even immortal kings wouldn't dare to casually glance over there. As long as they did so, they would be unable to extricate themselves. These women were simply too beautiful. This was especially so for the woman in the lead. She was clad in a white robe that was spotless, pure and flawless, incomparably clean. Her skin was as white as her robe, and her figure was lithe and graceful. Her curves were exquisite, and there was no flaw in her at all. Her face was as beautiful as a statue, yet also exuded the ethereal aura of a celestial fairy. In the center of the woman's brows, there was a faint imprint of a plum blossom, adding some embellishments to her peerless beauty. She stood there, pure and holy, yet she exuded a faint seductive aura. Such a pure and holy demonic beast had completely overturned everyone's imagination. Su Qingyao was also here. She was a rare beauty, but when the immortal kings beside her glanced at her, They actually discovered to their shock that regardless of appearance or demeanor, this woman was actually a notch higher compared to Su Qingyao. It was like this woman shouldn't even exist in this world. Vixen. Su Qingyao silently cursed in her heart. It was extremely rare for her to see a woman whose appearance and demeanor were more outstanding than her. But before this woman, she couldn't help but to admit that she felt some jealousy in her heart. In addition, this group of women were all vixens, and they were even nine-tailed demon foxes. However, that woman was incomparably transcendent. Although she exuded a seductive charm, she seemed to be otherworldly. She basically didn't even glance at Su Qingyao, and was only staring at the light cascading down. It was clear that Su Qingyao treated this woman as an imaginary enemy. Other than this, in several locations extremely far away, there were a few humans as well as Wuxia, exuding magnificence. It was unknown how dazzling they were. Qin Wentian's silhouette flickered as he flew over. His gaze stared at this area, and as expected, the runic light cascading down from the sky was even clearer here, as though it was complete. The Emperor's fate behind him grew stronger, and he could tell that this Tao element was the power of the Buddhist path. Each and every runic light contained a mysterious might, causing people to comprehend it. The runic light cascading down was like a heavenly book of the great Tao, immeasurably deep. Qin Wentian saw Wuxia. This fellow cultivated the power of the Buddhist path, and could sense the Tao element's true intent. It was just that his emperor's fate wasn't enough, and most probably, he wouldn't be able to see through the true intent of the Tao element. The Saber-Sword Immortal King has appeared. It's indeed the Saber-Sword Immortal King. This fellow would vanish for many years after each glorious battle. Now that the Tao element has appeared, he finally couldn't endure it any longer, and revealed himself. His enemies would definitely not spare him. Su Qingyao also saw Qin Wentian as a strange light flashed in her eyes. This audacious fellow has appeared again. Also, the Emperor's fate behind him has already reached such a level. This was simply too shocking, already able to contend against those peak-stage immortal kings. Although Qin Wentian's fame couldn't be compared to those immortal kings, the things he did were simply too glorious. His name circulated through the entire city of ancient emperors, and this was why his emperor's fate was so abundant. Some greater demons noticed the emperor's fate around Qin Wentian as a strange light involuntarily flashed in their eyes. In a certain direction, a greater demon coldly spoke. Who is this human Wuxia? He actually has such shocking emperor's fate. Who are you? A greater demon from the desolate mountains immediately asked Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed as he stared at the greater demon who spoke. He then coldly replied, "This seat is the Saber-Sword Immortal King." Saber-Sword Immortal King, I didn't expect you to be so powerful. No wonder you were so arrogant and despotic back then in the Gazing Emperor city. A greater demon spoke. So it turned out that it was the greater demon who sat in the floating palace in the Gazing Emperor city. He had paid his respects to the Saber-Sword Immortal King before. Do you still remember when you killed a greater demon of my race in the Gazing Emperor Palace? To think that you would actually be so famous in the city of ancient emperors now. A demonic dragon in the form of a demonic dragon coldly spoke, staring at Qin Wentian. If you want revenge, feel free to make a move. Qin Wentian's expression was emotionless as he stared at the greater demons. What an arrogant attitude. A supreme demon with shocking emperor's fate had a look of disdain in his eyes. However, since you are so famous in the city of ancient emperors, I'm sure ordinary peak-stage demon kings wouldn't be able to defeat you. No wonder you are so arrogant. But right now, you better restrain yourself a little. I'll go and kill him. A greater demon coldly spoke. No need. That human Wuxia will deal with him. There's no need for us to act. An expert spoke. And as expected at this moment, a group of figures flew over. The person in the lead exuded an incomparably resplendent aura. He was clad in yellow robes and exuded an unexcelled aura. Within this group of people, Qin Wentian actually saw a familiar figure. It was Huang Shatian, who was at the Immortal King realm. Clearly, this group of people were experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state. The person in the lead exuded a majestic aura, exuding a fearsome might. He wore a crown on his head, and was evidently a prince of the 9 emperors' immortal state. His status was transcendent, and he was also extremely powerful. He was the leader of this group of people from the 9 emperors' immortal state. Qin Wentian recognized Huang Shatian. However, Huang Shatian didn't know that the saber-sword immortal king was Qin Wentian. Hence, his expression didn't change too much. This person before him had killed many experts from the 9 emperors' immortal state. Chapter 1481. After that, Qin Wentian's gaze turned to the leader of the 9 emperors' immortal state. Huang Jiutian, a prince of the 9 emperors' immortal state, was at the peak stage of the immortal king realm. In addition, his combat prowess was extraordinary. Ordinary peak stage immortal kings weren't even worthy of a mention before him. Right now, for the sake of dealing with the saber-sword immortal king, Huang Jiutian, the strongest expert of the 9 emperors' immortal state, has arrived here. Boom! A bright light flashed as a boundlessly dazzling radiance manifested behind Huang Jiutian. Emperor light gushed forth frenziedly as resplendent divine weapons shot out from the light screen behind him. The power of this attack was similar to Huang Shatian back then, but it was far stronger compared to Huang Shatian back then. Killing people of my empire, you should die. Huang Jiutian didn't say anything more. He only spoke a single sentence. You want to kill me, but your skills are inferior. You should die. Qin Wentian's tone was tyrannical. Even when facing Huang Jiutian, he was still as domineering as ever. Many people turned their gazes over, feeling shocked in their hearts. This saber-sword immortal king was still the same as before, lawless and out of control. In his eyes, there was no such thing as respect. Even when facing Huang Jiutian, he still didn't lower his head. Boom! At this moment, the air trembled as an incomparably shocking aura gushed over. In the air, a group of experts arrived on a carriage, exuding the same aura of an emperor. This was especially so for the person in the lead, who sat on a dragon carriage. The dragon carriage was actually pulled by 8 flood dragons, and all of them were king-level greater demons. Just the 8 flood dragons pulling the dragon carriage were already incomparably terrifying. They were strong enough to dominate an entire region, yet they were willing to become slaves. From this, one could very well imagine what sort of status the person sitting on the chariot had. That Supreme Crown Prince character has arrived. Vile spawn, this Crown Prince has already ordered you to kneel and admit your mistakes twice. You actually dared to disobey this Crown Prince's orders. Now that you see this Crown Prince, why are you still not kneeling? The Supreme Crown Prince in the air spoke. His tone was calm, but his voice shook the heavens and earth, containing an unquestionable will. The words he spoke were the will of the immortal king, the will of the heavens. Qin Wentian inclined his head and glanced at him. He had heard of this Crown Prince character before. This was the Crown Prince of the Sunluo Immortal Empire, also known as the Yama King. He was extremely awe-inspiring, and was a supreme demon-level character. Although he was sitting there, the Emperor Fate behind him was incomparably majestic. His Emperor Fate transformed into ferocious dragons. 2 princes have arrived. That king of the Sunluo Immortal Empire. This saber-sword immortal king is King Yi of the Immortal King, the king of the Immortal Emperor, the king the 99 emperors immortal. Many experts felt pity for Qin Wentian. In the past, although Qin Wentian was unexcelled in the world, everyone admired his strength. But now, when facing against these 2 princes, especially the Yama King, it was basically impossible for Qin Wentian to win. In the city of ancient emperors, the Crown Prince of the Yama King was publicly acknowledged to be one of the strongest characters. His combat prowess was unparalleled. No one could stand up against him. Once, there were several peak-stage immortal kings who dared to contend against him. Yet they were all killed by him with a single strike. They weren't on the same level at all. In the central regions of the immortal realms, who didn't know how strong the Yama King was? Who the hell do you think you are? Speaking to this seat in such a manner. Don't you know how those people died? Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the Yama King as he coldly spoke. No matter how strong his opponent was, right now his cultivation base was at the mid-stage of the Immortal King realm. There was no reason for him to show weakness. Just a peak-stage Immortal King, What was there for him to not challenge? The hearts of everyone trembled. What a saber-sword immortal king, lawless and arrogant, simply having nothing in his eyes. The Yama King was a lofty character, yet he still dared to talk back. Not only did he want the Yama King to kneel, he even referred to himself as this seat, saying that he didn't know how those people died. How audacious! Ha ha ha! There's actually someone who dares to speak to this crown prince in such a manner. Back then, I said that if you didn't obey my command, I would cripple your cultivation and hand you over to my enemies. I'm a man of my words. Qingyao, this vile spawn dared to be disrespectful to you back then. Today, I will naturally seek justice for you. The Yama King stared at Su Qingyao as he calmly spoke. It was like his personality was like this, lofty, peering down at everyone in the world. I'll naturally handle my own matters. Su Qingyao spoke. Although the Yama King treated her very well, she wasn't used to his attitude towards others. It was like he was always like this, a lofty character. In the future, if she became Dao companions with him, would she have to act like this as well? Your parents once instructed me to take care of you. I'll naturally do my best. Now that there's someone who dares to treat you like this, how can I spare him? The Yama King spoke. Huang Jiutian, since you have a grudge with him, I'll let you fight him first. If you can't do it, this king will personally act. Just a mere saber-sword immortal king. How can I allow him to be so arrogant before me? I will naturally kill him. Although Huang Jiutian's strength was inferior to the Yama King, he was also an unparalleled character. How could he show weakness? His tone was filled with arrogance as the aura behind him grew even more violent. With a step out, he was about to act. Before this, those who wanted to kill this seat have already died in my hands. I truly want to see what qualifications a prince like you has to be so arrogant before this seat. Qin Wentian spoke with arrogance. Terrifying law runes circulated around him, and in an instant, his body was like an indestructible divine body, radiating an unexcelled might. How can those people you killed be compared to me, Huang Jiutian? Huang Jiutian stepped out. The wind and clouds changed as his law domain manifested. In an instant, this entire space was filled with a resplendent royal light. His astral soul transformed into a constellation, manifesting within his law domain. In this vast space, numerous gigantic emperors appeared, their might shaking the heavens and earth. Everyone in the world had to prostrate themselves before them. Saber-sword immortal king, do you know your crimes? Numerous voices shook the heavens and earth. Those human emperors spoke at the same time. Their voices were like the voice of the heavenly Tao. Boundless beams of light shot towards Qin Wentian. For ordinary peak stage immortal kings, they wouldn't even be able to withstand the destructive law light, and would die for sure. Each and every one of the human emperors was like a sharp sword, and there was no end to them. Qin Wentian radiated a treasured light. His body was like a divine weapon, akin to a divine body. Resplendent beams of light shot towards Qin Wentian. Yet they had no way to break through Qin Wentian's defense. Everyone once again witnessed how tyrannical the saber-sword immortal king's body was as they felt shock in their hearts. Your physique isn't bad. Huang Jiutian's expression was calm. There were no fluctuations at all. If the saber-sword immortal king could be killed so easily, he wouldn't be so famous today. Behind him, boundless law energy congregated, resonating with human emperors as countless divine weapons manifested. They floated in every corner of his law domain, exuding divine might that could destroy everything in his domain. Rumble! An all-annihilating attack blasted towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian stepped out as countless divine weapons slammed into his body. Even though his defense was incomparably strong, it was still trembling unceasingly. If this continued on, his defense would collapse sooner or later. Boom! Stepping out, Qin Wentian unleashed his law domain as a supreme pagoda appeared, suppressing everything. Boundless pagoda intent erupted forth, shattering everything in this space, clashing against the divine weapons as it shot towards Huang Jiutian. Huang Jiutian's eyes flashed with a bright light when he sensed the suppressive might of the pagoda. What a powerful law energy! It was like a transcendent runic formation, exuding boundless might. However, Huang Jiutian stretched his hand out and grabbed out. In an instant, the human emperors within his law domain moved together with him. The might of their emperors engulfed the area, resonating with the great Tao as chaos ensued. Qin Wentian's body of law abruptly exploded as he was forced backwards. A destructive storm of emperor might bore down on him, wanting to crush him into pieces. This law domain seems to be able to amplify his attacks. Huang Jiutian is as expected of a peak-stage immortal king prince character of the 9 emperors' immortal state. Qin Wentian silently mused. His words were filled with boundless arrogance. He mustn't show any signs of weakness. But in combat, he wouldn't lower his guard and underestimate his opponent. His sword intent towered up into the sky. Qin Wentian unsheathed his divine weapon and slashed out with a wave of his hand, cleaving apart the storm. Stepping out, he stabbed out with the Dream Devil swordplay, causing Huang Jiutian to be in a daze. However, what sort of character was Huang Jiutian? How could he be fooled by Qin Wentian for too long? He instantly reacted and punched out. His human emperor body resonated with him once more, causing the heavens and earth to tremble as he transformed into the supreme might of the great Tao. The sword was like a true dragon, colliding head-on with the emperor fist, causing a thunderous sound to echo out. Huang Jiutian folded ancient seals in his hands, summoning the ancient emperors. Rumbling sounds rang out as numerous ancient emperors descended from the sky, completely sealing this space, wanting to kill Qin Wentian here. You can die now. Huang Jiutian coldly snorted. Countless emperor-ranked divine weapons shot towards Qin Wentian. At the same time, the sovereigns resonated, emitting the melody of the great Tao. A supreme might manifested in this space as he blasted out an emperor-ranked palm imprint. The sovereigns also blasted out, wanting to destroy everything. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with a demonic light as he stared at Huang Jiutian. The bloodline in his body erupted forth as a blood-colored light shot out from his body. However, it was suppressed by Qin Wentian. Die! Qin Wentian roared. His sharp sword slashed out in a frenzy, shattering the ancient imprints one after another. However, there was still a supreme might that slammed into him, wanting to destroy him. Huang Jiutian's eyes flashed with coldness when he saw Qin Wentian's silhouette vanishing. A mid-stage immortal king dares to challenge the prestige of my 9 emperors' immortal state? Overestimating your own capabilities. Huang Jiutian's aura dissipated, exuding an incomparably imposing aura. The experts of the 9 emperors' immortal state, and the surrounding experts were all stunned. What was going on with Huang Jiutian? Earlier, Qin Wentian opened up a path with his sword. Although he was injured, he managed to dodge to the side, exuding terrifying might. Huang Jiutian actually dared to say such words? It was as though he had already killed Qin Wentian. Someone was bewildered. All of a sudden, the countenances of the experts of the 9 emperors' immortal state drastically changed. Careful! A roar rang out, penetrating through everything, startling Huang Jiutian. Chapter 1482. An incomparably resplendent sword light radiated forth. When Huang Jiutian retracted his aura, it suddenly erupted forth. His sword was extremely swift, as the shadow of a great rock appeared within the sword light, as well as a supreme holy will. Huang Jiutian was startled awake. His eyes narrowed as he stared in shock at the scene before him. How could this be? His cultivation base was at the peak stage of the immortal king realm, and he was a supreme character, summoning an ancient emperor, causing the heavens and earth to rumble with his might, suppressing Qin Wentian. Earlier, that strike should have already killed Qin Wentian, turning his bones into dust and dispersing his soul. But what was going on now? Illusionary realm. Given his cultivation base, how can he bewitch me? Huang Jiutian's mind spun as his aura erupted forth. He instantly understood what was going on, but he still didn't understand. However, this wasn't the time for him to search for answers. A sure kill sword shot over, threatening his life. Law energy circulated frenziedly around his body as his defense grew incomparably strong. Huang Jiutian roared, resembling a supreme ancient emperor. His body abruptly expanded in size. Huang Jiutian knew that this sword strike was simply too fast, and there was no way for him to evade it. He could only take it head-on. Naturally, while defending, he didn't forget to attack, weakening his opponent's sword technique. However, just as Huang Jiutian dissipated the energy, Qin Wentian unleashed a sure-kill attack. How could the two of them be compared? The great rock was incomparably resplendent, its wings dazzling and even sharper than a sharp sword. The sword Saint Wu was infused into it, making it unstoppable, capable of destroying everything. As it descended, it tore everything apart. A loud sound rang out. Huang Jiutian roared out explosively. His chest was directly pierced through, revealing a terrifying bloody wound. Borrowing the force of that attack, he retreated explosively, instantly appearing far away as the two of them faced each other. Lowering his head, Huang Jiutian glanced at the wound on his chest. Golden blood flowed within his body, the blood of emperors. His damaged body was gradually recovering. He inclined his head and stared at Qin Wentian as he asked, "How did you do this?" "Illusionary realm. Don't you know?" Qin Wentian stared at Huang Jiutian as he spoke. "Impossible. Your cultivation base is at the mid-stage of the Immortal King realm. How can an ordinary illusion technique be able to trap me?" Huang Jiutian didn't believe it. "You are a frog at the bottom of a well. You think you are so high and mighty. You are a so-called prince. I am more than capable of that," Qin Wentian said domineeringly. "Imperial brother, be careful. It's still an illusion," Huang Shatian shouted to remind Huang Jiutian. Huang Jiutian looked ahead, but Qin Wentian was not there at all. Qin Wentian had circled to his side, and Huang Jiutian seemed to be talking to the air. Qi. Another resplendent beam of sword light slashed down. Huang Jiutian roared. He directly closed his eyes and used his immortal sense to lock onto Qin Wentian's location. When he saw Qin Wentian's sword attack, he didn't hesitate to summon the ancient emperor. But when that sword landed, a terrifying sword wound was left on his arm. The terrifying sword intent gushed into his body, causing him to roar madly as energy gushed forth. How could this be? He actually fell into an illusion again and again. Everything was the same as reality. The people and things in the surroundings, everything was the same as reality. There were no flaws at all. What's going on? The experts of the 9 Emperors' immortal state stood together as their auras gushed forth, prepared to act at any moment. Why was the Sabersword Immortal King's illusionary techniques so powerful? Before this, they only knew that the law domain he created was extremely tyrannical and had extremely strong defenses. But they had never heard that the Sabersword Immortal King was proficient in illusions as well. In addition, this was different from ordinary illusionary techniques. It caused Huang Jiutian to fall into a completely different space, believing that it was real. If not, he wouldn't be mumbling to himself. His eyes are truly demonic. My royal brother closed his eyes. I wonder if it would be of any use. Huang Shatian stared at this battle. Huang Jiutian was a peak-stage immortal king with unparalleled combat prowess. He actually encountered such a terrifying opponent. This Sabersword Immortal King was merely at the peak stage of the mid-stage, an entire level lower. Wasn't this a little too demon level? Given how vast the immortal realms were, it was truly possible for geniuses to appear. Also, in the city of ancient emperors, those supreme characters who stood at the peak were all even more outstanding compared to Huang Jiutian. This involuntarily caused Huang Shatian to think of a certain person. That unparalleled magnificence. That person who completely suppressed his arrogance, causing his personality to undergo a drastic change, was none other than Qin Wentian. If my royal brother is in danger, we have to act. One of them transmitted his voiceover. Even if they had to lose face, it was impossible for them to watch Huang Jiutian being killed by the Sabersword Immortal King. Everyone watched with rapt attention. They discovered that other than the Sabersword Immortal King's illusionscape ability, he also erupted forth with the power of his bloodline. His attacks grew even stronger, becoming even more violent and tyrannical. This was extremely disadvantageous to Huang Jiutian. At this moment, the spectators saw Qin Wentian suddenly giving up the battle. His silhouette drifted to the side, but Huang Jiutian still continued to gather his might as he blasted out towards Qin Wentian. Prepare to die. Royal brother. Huang Shatian roared again. At this moment, another peak stage immortal king from the 9 emperors' immortal states camp stepped out, flying towards Qin Wentian as he slashed out with his sword. Huang Jiutian also reacted, but he slashed out again. This sword strike was even more ruthless compared to before, directly penetrating through half of his body. If it wasn't for his terrifying defense, as well as the protection of his ancient emperor might, he would have been killed by this sword strike. But even so, he still let out a howl of agony as he retreated. Just when Qin Wentian wanted to pursue, he saw the peak stage immortal king from the 9 emperors' immortal state slashing out with his sword. He could only give up. The experts from the 9 emperors' immortal state stepped out at the same time, surrounding Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian coldly laughed when he saw this scene. His silhouette flickered as he retreated, increasing the distance between them. The experts from the 9 emperors' immortal state instantly retreated to Huang Jiutian's side, staring warily at Qin Wentian. Royal brother, how is it? Huang Shatian asked. Huang Jiutian took out a medicinal pill and tossed it into his mouth. The blood in his body surged frenziedly as the human emperor blood healed his horrifying injuries. However, his body was trembling unceasingly, not only because of his injuries, but also because of the humiliation of being defeated. He didn't even reply to Huang Shatian. He only coldly stared at Qin Wentian as he asked, "How did you do it exactly? Why can't I escape from your illusionary arts, even when I close my eyes?" Qin Wentian naturally didn't use ordinary illusionary arts. Back then in the mountain range, he saw an ancient character who was suppressed, and was able to create dreams with a single thought. Qin Wentian comprehended something in his heart. Although he wasn't able to create a completely foreign dreamscape with a single thought, he could still attempt to create the simplest dreamscape. It was similar to the outside world. It was easier to confuse others. Naturally, if his opponent's cultivation base was far lower than his, he could also do the same as that ancient character and directly create a dream, causing his opponent to fall into a trance and be unable to escape. Huang Jiutian's cultivation base was higher than his, and his will was extremely tough as well. It was extremely difficult to confuse him, but he still managed to do it. Qin Wentian comprehended for a very long time before he finally succeeded. He used the soul control ability of the immortal scripture into the power of rules, and in the end he succeeded. Although Huang Jiutian was still able to break free after he reacted, it was already enough. Qin Wentian borrowed this power to confuse Huang Jiutian, and from there, defeated him. If it wasn't for the people from the 9 emperors' immortal state interfering, he might even be able to kill Huang Jiutian. But how could Qin Wentian tell Huang Jiutian about this? The 9 emperors' immortal state, is this the strongest person you have? Qin Wentian had a mocking expression on his face. Kill me? If it wasn't for the fact that we have more people, there would be another prince under my sword. Do you dare to fight me fair and square without using illusions? Huang Jiutian spoke with shame and anger. Illusions aren't part of this seat's abilities? Fight me fair and square? If that's the case, you would already be a dead man. As a prince of the 9 emperors' immortal state, can you be any more shameless? Qin Wentian spoke in disdain. The experts in the surroundings were speechless. They didn't expect that even Huang Jiutian would be defeated. Who else could suppress this saber-sword immortal king? Ha! A tyrannical voice rang out. Qin Wentian and the others inclined their heads only to see the Yama king, who was sitting on a dragon chariot pulled by 8 flood dragons, staring down at Qin Wentian as he spoke. Saber-sword immortal king, I take back my earlier words. Your strength is extraordinary, and in the future, you would surely have great accomplishments. In the future, you might even have my achievements. I'll give you a chance now. Kneel down and apologize. From now on, you can follow me and serve me as your lord. If that's the case, I won't make things difficult for you. This Yama king actually cherishes talent. Seems like after witnessing the battle between the saber-sword immortal king and Huang Jiutian, the Yama king was shaken and knew how strong the saber-sword immortal king is. In the future, he would definitely become a character at the peak of the immortal king realm in the city of ancient emperors. Hence, he wanted to recruit the saber-sword immortal king as his subordinate. Everyone mused. Being able to make the Yama king take back his words earlier, one could see how extraordinary the Sabersword Immortal King was. It's just that although the Sabersword Immortal King was an unparalleled character, his cultivation base was still a little lacking. If he reached the peak stage of the Immortal King realm, wouldn't he be another Yama King? How could he be willing to serve someone else? In addition, he even had to kneel down and apologize. This was undoubtedly a great humiliation. Qin Wentian inclined his head, his eyes gleaming with sharpness as he replied, "If you kneel down and apologize to me, I can forget about today's matter and won't find trouble for you in the future." Interesting. King Yanluo smiled. "I know that people like us all have their own pride, but don't forget, even if one day you can fight against the current me, if you die here today, all your years of cultivation will be destroyed, all your dreams will be for naught, and all your years of cultivation will be for naught. Don't think that just because you defeated Huang Jiutian, you would be able to contend against me. This crown prince isn't on the same level as him. Have you thought this through clearly?" The Yama King's tone was filled with arrogance. He basically didn't have Huang Jiutian in his eyes at all. For a character like him, a supreme crown prince who could reign supreme in the Immortal King realm, his pride and arrogance was something that ordinary people would never be able to imagine. Such a character had the pride to stand above the heavens and earth, as well as the ambition to shock the past and present. Qin Wentian glanced at the emperor's fate behind the Yama King. It soared up into the 9 heavens, resplendent to the extreme. Just from the emperor's fate alone, Qin Wentian also understood that Huang Jiutian and the Yama King weren't on the same level. But even so, was it possible for him to kneel down and apologize? Today, this seat shall use the strength of a mid-stage Immortal King to experience the strength of a character at the peak of the Immortal King realm in the city of ancient emperors. He actually dares to boast so shamelessly, wanting this seat to follow him? Qin Wentian's aura surged wildly as his battle intent towered up into the clouds. Chapter 1483. The people in the surroundings were all shocked. They didn't expect that this Sabersword Immortal King would actually dare to challenge the Yama King. "Yama King, a mid-stage Immortal King wants to challenge you?" A supreme greater demon turned his gaze over as he calmly spoke. That supreme greater demon from the Sun Gold race who was sitting on the Sun Chariot stared over. Clearly, he was extremely interested in this. There weren't many people who could cause them to be interested. The Yama King was one of them. Among the humans in the city of ancient emperors, the Yama King was the strongest Immortal King. Even Huang Jiutian wasn't qualified to be his opponent. But now, a mid-stage Immortal King wanted to challenge the Yama King. "Ha ha ha. Do you want to see the strength of this crown prince?" The Yama King laughed uproariously as he stared at Qin Wentian. His arrogant laughter caused the heavens and earth to tremble. The spectators only felt their blood and meridians trembling as their bodies trembled unstably. This laughter was too terrifying, like the voice of a primordial beast, or the voice of the great Tao, causing everyone to tremble uneasily. The Yama King laughed uproariously. Thunderous rumbling sounds echoed out as many experts exclaimed in shock. Some of the weaker initial stage Immortal Kings retreated far away. The mid-stage Immortal Kings behind them also retreated far away. They felt their bodies trembling violently, as though they were about to explode from the force of the explosion. Everything before their eyes turned blurry as the entire space shook. When they stared at the figure on the war chariot, great waves of shock rose in their hearts. Was this the might of a supreme crown prince? He was simply too powerful. Huang Jiutian couldn't be compared to him at all. That figure slowly stood up from the war chariot as his laughter continued. His physique was incomparably imposing, like an unexcelled divinity standing in the air. Qin Wentian inclined his head as an unsightly expression appeared on his face. Even for someone as powerful as him, he also felt his heart trembling. His soul trembled as his blood thrummed violently. That laughter contained a magical power, causing the laws of heaven and earth to tremble violently. This Yama King was simply too powerful. He truly wasn't on the same level as Huang Jiutian. No wonder he dared to be so arrogant, disregarding everything in his eyes. "Since you want to see this crown prince's strength, then this king will fulfill your wish." A voice that shook the heavens and earth rang out. Although it seemed calm, It caused the entire space to tremble. It was like the sound of the great Tao. He stood there lofty and lofty, exuding divine might. Even though his body didn't expand, he still gave off an incomparably majestic feeling. He was a king among kings. From afar, many people felt despair when they saw this scene. Was this the great era? Even for peak-stage immortal kings of the same cultivation realm, there were some people who could cause others to feel despair. The Yama King and the Saber-Sword Immortal King were clearly such people. They were so strong that people at the same level of the Immortal King realm felt that they were too far away from them, causing them to feel dispirited. In this world, it seemed that there were truly some extraordinary people born from birth. No wonder he was the supreme crown prince of the Sunluo Immortal Empire. There were many princes in the Sunluo Immortal Empire, and experts were as common as the clouds. In fact, there were even immortal emperor-ranked princes among them. However, the successor of the empire has long been decided. This supreme crown prince was directly conferred the position of crown prince, and no one would object to it. Only to see the Yama King staring disdainfully at Qin Wentian, unexcelled in the world. His laughter hadn't subsided yet. He then roared, "Azura hell!" As the sound of his voice faded, the entire space seemed to explode as law energy surged. A terrifying might directly bore down on Qin Wentian. With a thunderous boom, Qin Wentian was forced back. He groaned in misery as he inclined his head and stared at the surroundings. The entire space around him transformed into a law domain, the Azura Hell. The Azura Hell was truly like hell on earth. It was terrifying to the extreme. Blood-red magma filled the area, filled with a tyrannical aura of darkness and destruction. The tyrannical might of the chaotic laws caused this law domain to become the absolute domain of the Yama King. Qin Wentian furrowed his brows. He discovered that he had no way to control any other law energy other than his body. He couldn't borrow the power of the heavens and earth. The cold wind from the Azura Hell changed the laws of this space, toppling everything. This was the Yama King's territory. No one can invade it. This king can see that you are extraordinary, and will give you one last chance. Are you willing to kneel to this king and follow me from now on? The Yama King's voice shook the heavens and earth. Scram. Qin Wentian spoke, his words causing the hearts of the experts to tremble. The Saber-Sword Immortal King was actually unwilling to submit. However, the Saber-Sword Immortal King himself was also a shocking genius. How could someone like him be willing to kneel and apologize? But sadly, he wasn't willing to kneel and follow the Yama King. The Yama King would definitely kill him. He wouldn't leave him alive. Scram. The Yama King laughed uproariously again. His laughter grew more and more terrifying, shaking the heavens and earth. That feeling from before appeared once again. Also, as he laughed, the Azura Hell started to rampage. From within the Azura Hell, numerous destructive devil kings walked out. All of them had gigantic bodies, glaring with anger and wielding spears of the underworld. There were also those with 3 heads and 6 arms, wielding spiked clubs. All of them exuded a fearsome aura, as though they had just walked out from hell. The Yama King can use his Azura Hell to kill peak-stage immortal kings. How terrifying to the extreme. How can this Saber-Sword Immortal King contend against him? Some of the immortal kings in the central regions had some understanding of the Yama King, and knew how terrifying he was. This was a baleful god. His Azura Hell was able to throw the laws of the world into chaos, causing others to have no control over them. Qin Wentian had a heavy expression on his face. He could also sense how powerful the Yama King was. One could say that the Yama King was the strongest opponent he had ever fought against. Within his body, the constellation formed from his astral souls radiated a resplendent light, causing his entire body to be filled with boundless law energy. He had to kill his way out. If he stayed in here, he could only borrow the law energy in his body. In fact, he couldn't even form a law domain. If he stayed here, he would only be waiting for death. There was no chance at all. The Azura Hell's law domain was truly powerful. It actually had the power to throw laws into chaos. Rumble. The terrifying Hell King's spear pierced towards him. It was like the spear of the death god, capable of destroying all law energy as it shot towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian brandished his sword and saber as the law energy in his body surged. He slashed out with his saber, manifesting a dark saber light that slashed apart the heavens and earth, colliding with the Underworld King's spear. The Underworld King's spear contained the power to shatter laws, causing the law energy within the saber to be thrown into chaos. After that, the Underworld King's spear continued on its way towards Qin Wentian. Even the demons of the Azura Hell have the power to shatter laws. Qin Wentian's heart trembled. For immortal kings, all their attacks were formed from law energy. If the opponent's attack could shatter laws, it would undoubtedly weaken the power of their attacks, destroying their defenses and attacks. Qin Wentian lifted his fist, activating the Vajra Holy Will and punched out, shattering the Underworld King's spear. His cold eyes stared at the demon kings in this domain. The Azura Hell trembled as more and more demon kings appeared. Qin Wentian didn't even have a chance to act against the Yama King. The strength of the Yama King was simply too terrifying. Huang Jiutian couldn't be compared to him at all. A three-headed, six-armed demon king wielded a gigantic spiked mace and smashed it towards Qin Wentian, exuding boundless might. Qin Wentian's mind spun like lightning, thinking of how to break out of this Azura Hell. His fist transformed into a golden demonic dragon, and with a thunderous boom, the two of them exploded. Behind him, an incomparably gigantic Purgatory Devil King lifted his foot and stomped towards Qin Wentian. His entire body shone with magma flames, as well as darkness devil might. He was like a destructive devil king that came from the depths of the abyss. With a single stomp, Qin Wentian felt a violent wave of destructive flames enveloping him. That devil king stomped down on him. Qin Wentian's speed was extremely fast. A pair of wings of a heavenly rock appeared behind him as he moved with lightning speed, evading that stomp. As the gigantic foot stomped down, the Azura Hell rumbled. Those demon kings unceasingly launched attacks at Qin Wentian. However, Qin Wentian's speed exploded forth. His movement technique was incomparably exquisite. He was like a true great rock, evading all the attacks. His movement technique is so powerful as well. What other abilities does this saber-sword immortal king have hidden? Many people felt shock in their hearts. The saber-sword immortal king was truly a heaven-shaking character. Sadly, he encountered the Supreme Crown Prince, the Yama King, whose cultivation base was higher than him. Both of them were Empyreans who could jump levels to do battle. If the cultivation base of the other party was higher, the saber-sword immortal king could only be suppressed. Hide? Do you think you can hide in this king's Azura Hell? In the air, the Supreme Crown Prince laughed uproariously. He stretched out his palm as his law domain rumbled, becoming even more terrifying. Numerous demon kings appeared, guarding the Azura Hell, wanting to seal this entire space. The supreme divine body of the Sinluo Immortal Empire truly lives up to its name. Some supreme immortal kings from the central regions silently mused. They knew very well how terrifying the Supreme Crown Prince was. Qin Wentian stared at the demon kings around him as his countenance turned ashen. In the Azura Hell, he could only use his own law energy, and the strength he could unleash was greatly limited. If this continued, he wouldn't even have a chance to get close to the Yama King. Qin Wentian radiated resplendent light as he soared into the air, rushing out of the Azura Hell's law domain. However, the Yama King laughed uproariously. Numerous terrifying demon kings launched attacks at him. Qin Wentian brandished his saber and sword, cleaving apart everything with ease. However, these demon kings seemed to be endless. The Azura Hell was also boundless. Finally, with a thunderous boom, Qin Wentian was struck. He coughed out a mouthful of blood as his body fell from the air. Bang! Another Devil King palm slammed down, slamming Qin Wentian into the ground. However, Qin Wentian's physique was as expected of a heaven-shaking one. Even after such an attack, his body didn't explode. Only the light of his defense dimmed. Rumble! That terrifying foot appeared once more, stomping down. A thunderous boom rang out, shaking the hearts of everyone. Qin Wentian was crushed under the foot. It was unknown if he was still alive or dead. The saber-sword immortal king was killed. The hearts of everyone trembled. Chapter 1484. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with an incomparably terrifying light. The Yama King felt a surge of energy penetrating into his eyes, causing his eyes to gleam even more resplendent. He could see through everything, not being able to enter the dreamscape. Rumbling sounds rang out as his blood flowed. His bones wriggled unceasingly as devil might gushed forth, returning his body to its original state. The eyes of the Yama King, who was seated in the air, had a strange look on his face. The demon kings of the Azura Hell all had extremely strong combat prowess. Each of them had attacks at the peak stage of the Immortal King realm. Yet they still couldn't kill him? In addition, this saber sword Immortal King's performance had truly stunned her. He was simply too outstanding. Other than his cultivation base being lower, he could stand shoulder to shoulder with those peak characters. The sky changed color, transforming into countless swords and sabers as law energy gushed forth. What a pity! If the saber sword Immortal King could break through to the peak stage of the Immortal King realm, that would surely be an even more spectacular clash. Sadly, we won't be able to see that. Many people sighed in their hearts when they saw Qin Wentian being suppressed by a single kick. For a character like the saber sword Immortal King, it was truly too much of a pity if he died. After breaking through to the peak stage of the Immortal King realm, he would be a character that stood at the peak. Even the Yama King himself said this. But the saber sword Immortal King wasn't willing to submit. Boom! A boundless devil might gushed forth, soaring up into the sky. Qin Wentian stood up as his eyes gleamed with coldness. After that, he soared into the air, resembling a terrifying great rock, rushing towards the Yama King. He actually didn't die? The eyes of everyone flashed with a strange light. Not only did he not die, he actually rushed towards the Yama King as a fearsome might gushed forth from him. That devil might from the Azura Hell engulfed the area, growing even more violent compared to before. Even the sky turned dark. It was like the attack from the Azura Hell didn't have much of an effect on the saber sword Immortal King. The Yama King also had a strange look on his face. He stared at Qin Wentian, who was rushing towards him, as he coldly laughed. Interesting. It would be a pity to kill you, King Yanluo said indifferently. He stepped forward and walked towards Qin Wentian. Before this, in the ancient Emperor Palace of the Gazing Emperor City, the saber sword Immortal King stood up for the Namhuang clan before. Seems like there's already some feelings between the two of you. The Namhuang clan has the bloodline of my demonic race. If you are willing to accompany my clan, I might consider taking revenge for you. A transcendent greater demon coldly spoke, as though he was unexcelled in the world. His words caused the expressions of the experts of the Namhuang clan to turn cold. Is he dead? An indescribable emotion appeared in Su Qingyao's heart. She actually didn't feel the joy of seeing her enemy dying. In fact, she felt a sense of disappointment instead. Although this fellow humiliated her back then, he didn't touch her at all during those 7 days. If not, given the saber sword Immortal King's lawless personality, he wouldn't care who Su Qingyao was. Interesting. If you guys want to interfere, we can only kill all of you together. A transcendent greater demon spoke. Tuoba Saint-Sky ignored him. He borrowed the power of spatial law energy from one of them, enveloping Qin Wentian and the experts of the Namhuang clan. Numerous figures flashed over. There were actually 2 groups of people. Among them, many had pale expressions on their faces. As expected of a Supreme Crown Prince character, many peak stage Immortal Kings in the city of ancient emperors aren't even qualified to carry his shoes for him. He can kill them with a single strike. His Azura Hell is infused with many different types of law energy, as well as the supreme secret arts of the Sanluo Immortal Empire. Only this crown prince would be able to fuse them so perfectly. His cultivation base is also at the peak stage of the Immortal King realm. In the entire Immortal realms, only those at the very peak would be able to contend against him. However, a devil might penetrated through everything, slashing into his soul, causing the Yama King's eyes to narrow. He didn't expect the saber sword Immortal King to have cultivated soul attacks as well. How tough to deal with. The experts from the Namhuang clan and the Heavenly Talisman realm both stepped out, arriving before Qin Wentian. When the Yama King saw this scene, he laughed uproariously. You guys want to obstruct me? Can you block me? Qin Wentian was forced back as he groaned in misery. His body was injured as he coughed out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were incomparably cold as he inclined his head and stared at the Yama King. Even in close combat, his opponent's attack was still extremely powerful. As expected of a supreme crown prince, such a character was born extraordinary and had many terrifying methods. This king has given him a chance to submit to this king, but he refused. In addition, this king's actions are none of your business. The Yama King stared disdainfully at the holy maidens of the Namhuang clan as he spoke. This king has already given you a choice. Since you refused, I can only kill you. The Yama King was lofty, his tone cold, exuding a disdainful aura. The 8 flood dragons pulled the dragon carriage and came to his side. The Yama King sat down as the Azura hell vanished. Qin Wentian's body appeared. He was flattened as his blood flowed in the air. But his body was actually still floating there. Let me borrow your law energy. Tuoba Saintsky spoke. The experts around him understood. They instantly assimilated their law energy into Tuoba Saintsky. He lifted his fist and punched out, wanting to lacerate everything. His fist collided with the palm imprint of the Yama King. Go to hell. With a thunderous roar, the Yama King's entire body blazed with purgatory flames, enveloping his soul within. The Azura hell appeared once more, enveloping this entire space, including him and Qin Wentian. The attacks of the two clashed, causing the heavens and earth to be thrown into chaos. A destructive law turbulence swept through the vast space, causing even those who stood extremely far away to feel a tyrannical pressure. The whistling law storm blew over, causing everyone to feel a sense of fear. One could only imagine how terrifying the power that the two of them were enduring. How could the Yama King not understand Qin Wentian's intentions? His eyes gleamed with disdain as he waved his hand, causing the demon kings to step aside. Since this saber-sword immortal king wanted to test his close combat prowess, he would grant him his wish. He fled. The eyes of that greater demon gleamed with a demonic light. Humph. The Yama King coldly snorted as an incomparably resplendent emperor light shone from his body. He laughed uproariously, causing the space around him to distort. Numerous demon kings appeared before him, blocking the attacks for him, as though he didn't even need to do anything. The eyes of everyone turned to the same direction as they sighed in their hearts, feeling pity for the saber-sword immortal king. The immortal realms were simply like this, incomparably cruel. Although the saber-sword immortal king was already a supreme demon-level character, now that the great era has arrived, if one wanted to ascend to the peak, they had to defeat all the geniuses in the world. Even if you have outstanding talent, there's still a possibility of you dying. This was a war between kings. In the future, if the people here wanted to ascend to the peak, they still had to fight against immortal emperors. Tuoba Saintsky and Jun Mingchen's group also rushed over. Jun Mingchen's aura was extremely terrifying. Tuoba Saintsky saw the change in his aura and spoke. He shouldn't have died. If not, it's impossible for him to float in the air. The Azura hell contained the power of chaos. His only chance was to engage in close combat. Kill. A sword slashed down, containing the holy will of swords within. A supremely sharp sword might manifested, exuding boundless devil might, capable of annihilating all existences. The flood dragons and war chariots behind the Yama King were all torn apart. His palms trembled as he felt a tearing energy gushing into his body. His eyes gleamed with a terrifying sharpness. A mid-stage immortal king was actually able to unleash an attack to such an extent. He could truly be considered a rare character. Chi. Beams of resplendent devil light shot out as the devil saber slashed down. The Yama King didn't even bother to glance at it. He simply lifted his hand and slashed out, causing the heavens and earth to tremble as the law energy in the area churned wildly. Ka. A crisp sound rang out from Qin Wentian's body. After that, a surge of devil might gushed forth, causing the expressions of everyone to gleam with sharpness. What sort of monster was this saber-sword immortal king exactly? He actually didn't die from such an attack, and was proficient in devil attribute energy. Could it be that he cultivated some sort of devil art? Not bad. The Yama King roared. Both his palms blasted out with enough force to topple mountains and overturn seas. Behind him, a terrifying phantom manifested, resembling a scene from the depths of hell. At this instant, the Yama King had transformed into the King of Hell. His palms wreaked havoc, annihilating everything. Behind him, numerous terrifying devils from hell appeared, acting as his protectors. Kill. Qin Wentian's sword slashed downwards, containing an unfathomable amount of power within. A powerful screen of sword light enveloped everything as holy will flowed within. A terrifying vortex swallowed everything as devil might churned intensely. Within the terrifying devil might, a terrifying sword vortex manifested, containing the power of tens of thousands of demons. Boundless energy was infused into that single sword strike, causing tens of thousands of meters of sword light to manifest, shaking the heavens and earth. Farewell. As the sound of his voice faded, he stepped out and actually soared through the air, departing the area. This caused everyone to frown. Qin Wentian continued forward, as though there was no power that could obstruct him. 3 types of holy wills revolved around him, erupting forth frenziedly. Although he had no way to borrow the power of the laws of heaven and earth, he unleashed all of them and directly appeared before the Yama King, wanting to clash head-on. As he spoke, he stood up from the war chariot once more. After speaking, he lifted his palm and blasted it downwards, causing the entire space to turn dark. What physique is this? The hearts of the spectators trembled. The Yama King also started. He glanced in the distance as he spoke. Interesting. Now that a Tao element has appeared, let's temporarily spare them. Unless they give up on the good fortune in the city of ancient emperors, they would still be killed sooner or later. The Namhuang clan? Someone spoke in a low voice. One of the experts was actually from the Namhuang clan. There were quite a few holy maidens from the Namhuang clan present. Namhuang Yunqi's countenance turned pale as her heart trembled. She came to the side of Qin Wentian and stretched out her trembling hand. She knew that the saber-sword immortal king was none other than Qin Wentian. As a character at the peak of the immortal king realm, the Yama King's arrogance had long seeped into his bones. No matter what methods Qin Wentian used, he wouldn't fear him at all. Yama King, as a peak-stage immortal king, you actually chose to deal with a mid-stage immortal king? Don't you feel any shame? A holy maiden at the peak stage of the Namhuang clan inclined her head and stared at the air as she asked. MHM. The eyes of many flashed. How could he still be alive? Chapter 1485. The eyes of the crowd flashed with bewilderment. Earlier, that peak-stage immortal king actually managed to shatter Yan Luotian's palm attack with a single strike. Although he borrowed the force of the palm attack, such a unique ability was extremely powerful, able to assimilate law energy and was extremely profound. The saber-sword immortal king had many enemies, but he also had many friends. The Namhuang clan was also on good terms with him. However, after offending the Supreme Crown Prince and some peak-stage greater demons, it would be hard for him to have a foothold in the city of ancient emperors. To think that we failed to kill him. The experts from the 9 emperors' immortal state all had unsightly expressions on their faces. The saber-sword immortal king was a supreme enemy to them. Even the strongest character in their 9 emperors' immortal state, Huang Jiutian, was defeated by him. Both sides already had a death grudge. If the saber-sword immortal king didn't die, their 9 emperors' immortal state's humiliation would never end. Everyone knew that the saber-sword immortal king had killed many people from their 9 emperors' immortal state. Naturally, there were also experts from the Supreme Sword School and Taihua Immortal Dynasty. They were all extremely depressed that the saber-sword immortal king actually managed to escape. However, those peak characters didn't have too much of a reaction. They turned their gazes away and continued to comprehend the Tao elements raining down from the sky. In a certain direction, an extraordinary figure sat cross-legged in the air. Boundless Buddhic light radiated from him, as though he had an indestructible golden body. Countless Buddhic runes floated around him, exuding a dignified aura, like a supreme ancient Buddha, able to inherit the great Tao of the heavens and earth. It's actually him. The eyes of many flashed as they stared at that figure. I didn't expect this. Many major powers, including the Ascart Temple, have yet to obtain the power of a Tao element. Yet this man actually managed to do so before them. However, it's true that he's extraordinary, and is one of the strongest characters in the city of ancient emperors. I've long heard that one of the three major powers of the southern regions, the Jiang clan, is low profile. This Jiang Zihua's magnificence is unparalleled, and he might be the future leader of the Jiang clan. It's rumored that the ancestor of the Jiang clan was a Buddhist monk. After that, he saw through the Buddhist Tao and returned to the secular world, becoming a peak power that has existed until now. Looks like the Buddhist techniques passed down by the Jiang clan aren't inferior to those Buddhist sects. Many people sighed with emotion and were rather shocked in their hearts. As for Qin Wentian and the others, Tuoba Saint Sky used the power of the void to traverse the distance between them. In the blink of an eye, the group had already arrived on an extremely distant mountain peak. Senior brother, why is there a need to be so powerful? Why don't you just start a war with that bastard crown prince? Jun Mingchen said to Tuoba Saint Sky, feeling a little angry. Given Tuoba Saint Sky's strength, in addition to borrowing the law energy of everyone in the heavenly talisman realm, his combat prowess would definitely be extremely terrifying. There was no need for him to care about that arrogant and despotic crown prince. Don't you see those big demons staring at us like tigers eyeing their prey? There are also people from the 9 Emperors' immortal state, and people from the Purple Mountain. They are guarding at the side, ready to attack at any time. Once a group battle breaks out, the consequences will be out of control. Tuoba Saint Sky spoke. Clearly he was considering the overall situation. He also knew that the Sabersword Immortal King's true identity was Qin Wentian, and naturally knew who the Sabersword Immortal King had offended. Zi Daolong died in his hands. There was no doubt that the people from the Purple Mountain were here for revenge. Damn it, if he reached the peak stage of the Immortal King realm master. Jun Mingchen wanted to call out Qin Wentian as his senior brother, but he suddenly shut his mouth. How can the Sabersword Immortal King be defeated by that Yama King? That fellow merely relied on his cultivation base at the peak stage of the Immortal King realm to bully others. If I'm at his level, I would definitely be able to kill him with a single punch. A defeat is a defeat. There's no need for you to console me. Qin Wentian casually smiled. He knew that Jun Mingchen was intentionally saying this to console him, telling him not to mind this defeat. How could this little thought be hidden from him? However, Qin Wentian underestimated him too much. How would he care about a defeat? He, Qin Wentian, has cultivated for so many years and was already an immortal king. But even so, his arrogance was so great that he could still afford to lose. Jun Mingchen's little thoughts were seen through. He smiled. This caused many people from the Namhuang clan and the Heavenly Talisman realm to feel bewildered. When did Jun Mingchen become so familiar with the Sabersword Immortal King? It's just that they have traveled together. It shouldn't be to such an extent, right? Also, earlier when the Sabersword Immortal King was trampled by the gigantic foot, Namhuang Yunxi's entire countenance changed. Her countenance turned pale as though she was in a daze. It was like the person who died was someone close to her. Could it be that the charm of the Sabersword Immortal King was so great? Is that Yama King really so powerful? Jun Mingchen asked. He was very familiar with Qin Wentian. Along the way, when hasn't Qin Wentian jumped levels to challenge others? Although he didn't personally witness it, he had heard of Qin Wentian's glory in the city of ancient emperors, killing over 10 immortal kings, including peak-stage immortal kings. How impressive was that? However, he was still defeated by the Yama King. The Yama King was directly conferred the title of Crown Prince among his many descendants. No one could contend against him. From this, one could very well imagine how powerful he is. Someone from the Namhuang clan spoke. In truth, there aren't many peak-stage immortal kings in the entire immortal realms. It's just that this time around, many of them suddenly appeared, all of them exuding boundless magnificence, gathering in the city of ancient emperors to welcome the arrival of the new era. I heard that the Yama King's Azura Hell is infused with all sorts of astral souls, as well as secret arts from the Sinluo Immortal Empire. Its might is boundless, and it has the ability to distort the laws. The holy maidens of the Namhuang clan naturally paid attention to such characters, and knew a little about them. The Azura Hell is a law domain of the Yama King. This law domain is already sufficient, containing all sorts of abilities. The most terrifying thing is just like what the holy maidens said, the ability to distort the laws. In there, we can only use the law energy in our bodies. We have no way to borrow the energy of the heavens and earth. This would undoubtedly greatly weaken the combat prowess of immortal kings, making it impossible for them to use their law domains. Qin Wentian knew that when using a law domain, one had to use one's body as the starting point, using the energy of the heavens and earth to form a domain. If the laws were distorted, how could one use their law domains? In that case, we have to be careful of this fellow in the future. Jun Mingchen spoke. This fellow is extremely conceited and incomparably arrogant. If it wasn't for the saber-sword immortal king taking advantage of Su Qingyao, he wouldn't have acted at all. In the future, even if he encounters us, he might not do anything to us. The holy maidens of the Namhuang clan spoke. The city of ancient emperors is already in chaos. There's no harm in being more cautious. Tuoba Saintskai spoke. Saber-sword immortal king, what do you plan to do next? Why don't you come with us? It's different. I'm already used to roaming the city of ancient emperors alone, searching for good fortune. Qin Wentian smiled as he rejected. What about your injuries? Namhuang Yunshi felt a little worried. Don't worry about it. These minor injuries are nothing to me. Qin Wentian smiled, not minding it at all. Everyone could only nod their heads, and after that, they split up. Qin Wentian continued to roam the city of ancient emperors, searching for good fortune. Although he was defeated, his emperor's fate didn't diminish at all. It was still as resplendent as before, even more so than before. He fought against the Supreme Crown Prince, Yama King, with a mid-stage Immortal King cultivation base. Everyone was in awe of how strong the saber-sword Immortal King was. His emperor's fate grew stronger and stronger. Relying on his emperor's fate, Qin Wentian encountered many good fortune as his strength improved bit by bit. That Tao element had always existed in the city of ancient emperors. When the people of the immortal realms heard this news, a huge commotion shook the entire immortal realms. Experts all flocked to the city of ancient emperors, including immortal emperors. 2 years later, at the peak of a mountain, Qin Wentian stared at the horizons. During these 2 years, many changes occurred in the city of ancient emperors, giving birth to many good fortune. Countless experts who rushed to the city of ancient emperors benefited, and there were even many who managed to break through their bottlenecks, breaking through to the next level. However, Qin Wentian still felt that the peak stage of the Immortal King realm was still very far away. The higher one cultivated, the harder it was to break through. Even if there were many good fortune, it was useless. He stared at the Tao element cascading down from the air. He believed that in the future, there might be more of it. However, he made a decision and decided to leave the city of ancient emperors. Being limited to a single world, it's hard to find good fortune. Qin Wentian mumbled. Although he might miss out on a great opportunity, so what of it? The Tao element was merely something tossed over by the immortal realms. He believed that cultivation ultimately still depended on one's own insights. As he thought of this, Qin Wentian's silhouette flashed as he left this place. The ancient mountain peak was empty. Just when all the powerful characters in the immortal realms were rushing to the city of ancient emperors, Qin Wentian silently left. Before he left, he went to take a look at Bai Qing, but he didn't reunite with her. Qin Wentian knew that the phenomenon in the city of ancient emperors wouldn't be brief, and would continue on for a very long period of time. Next, the attention of everyone in the immortal realms would be focused on this place. The vast majority of people here wouldn't be willing to leave, and he would definitely return in the future. In the eastern regions of the immortal realms, in the Evergreen Kingdom Palace, Qin Wentian returned. However, Chongqing the Great and many other nobility experts weren't in the royal palace. They had all gone to the city of ancient emperors. Qin Wentian arrived at the princess residence. Right now, who in the eastern regions didn't know that Qin Wentian was the future prince consort of the empire? Naturally, no one would obstruct him. In the princess residence, wasn't here but Mo Qingqing was. You've returned. Upon seeing Qin Wentian's return, Mo Qingqing didn't say anything. She silently walked to Qin Wentian and helped Qin Wentian tidy his robes. She then spoke in a gentle voice. Elder sister Qing, has been cultivating with senior GD during these years and rarely returns. Occasionally, she would come by to see if you have returned or not. Did you miss me? Qin Wentian gently hugged Mo Qingqing. Each time they parted, many years would pass, causing Qin Wentian to feel very ashamed. Qingqing, on the other hand, had no regrets. What do you think? Mo Qingqing winked mischievously as she stared at Qin Wentian. I definitely didn't miss you. Qin Wentian intentionally replied, causing Mo Qingqing to roll her eyes. She quietly leaned into his embrace as she replied in a light voice. I miss you every day. Qin Wentian rubbed Mo Qingqing's head as he smiled. I told you to inform Qing, that if she returns, I will accompany the two of you to relax. Really? Mo Qingqing inclined her head and stared at Qin Wentian. When have I ever lied to you? Qin Wentian laughed. Mo Qingqing's beautiful eyes sparkled as she stared at the smile on Qin Wentian's face. You want me and elder sister Qing, to accompany you? Do you have any good intentions? Black lines appeared on Qin Wentian's forehead as he replied in a crafty manner. What good intentions? Seeing the shameless smile on Qin Wentian's face, Mo Qingqing ruthlessly pinched his waist. Lecherous brat, as expected, you have no good intentions. Qin Wentian felt that he was wronged. His thoughts were so pure. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.